Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Back at you with a new video. Today is Tuesday, October 28th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the Toronto Blue Jays versus the Los Angeles Dodgers, World Series game number 4. First pitch is going to be here in roughly 10 minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get into the starting lineups. Happy Tuesday, everyone. One of the best first basemen in the game, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And pitching today for the Los Angeles Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani. Can't wait to see what he does on the mound and leading off as a pitcher/DH. Now let's get into the starting lineups here first for the visiting Toronto Blue Jays. Leading off for the Blue Jays in left field, Nathan Lucas. Batting second, playing first base, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Batting third, DHing for Toronto, Bo Bichette. Batting cleanup, batting fourth, right fielder, Addison Barger. Batting fifth, catching today for the Blue Jays, Alejandro Kirk. Batting sixth, playing center field, Dalton Varsho. Batting seventh, playing third base, Ernie Clement. Batting eighth, playing shortstop, Andres Jimenez. And batting ninth, playing second base, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. On the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays, Shane Bieber. And now let's get into the starting lineup for the home Los Angeles Dodgers. Leading off for the Dodgers at pitcher, Shohei Ohtani. Batting second, playing shortstop, Mookie Betts. Batting third, first baseman, the hero last night in 18 innings, Freddie Freeman. Batting cleanup, batting fourth, pitching today for the Dodgers, Will Smith. Batting fifth, playing right field, Teoscar Hernandez. Batting sixth, playing third base, Max Muncy. Batting seventh, playing second base, Tommy Edman. Batting eighth, playing left field, Kike Hernandez. And batting ninth, playing center field, Andy Pages. And on the mound for the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani. We're going to be shooting for 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. We're only 2 subs away from 23,200. So I know we're going to hit that number here tonight, and then we'll end up going to our next secondary goals. And again, hopefully everyone slept well last night. I did have a little bit of a fear that I wasn't going to have a voice today. Did a lot of honey, did a little bit of tea, definitely tried to rest my voice as much as I could. And thankfully, after that long matchup last night, got enough rest, and looks like my voice is good. So that's always a good thing, obviously, since we do this here pretty much every day. And then we will be live tomorrow for World Series game number 5. And that will be at the same time, same place in Los Angeles here with the NWSF. And we'll get the stream started around roughly the same time, around 5 p.m. Pacific. Dark Passenger in the building. What's good? Shannon in the building. What's good? Marine Bean in the building. What's good? Yeah. Luckily, she was very, very patient. And by the time that I had a little bit of soup and had some noodles and some steamed vegetables, and then ended up going on a long walk. I mean, it was at that point, it was way past midnight at that time, and a little late, for me and the pup to be out there. But I mean, normally when we're out there for our last walk of the night, usually it's around 10, 11, sometimes in the 9 range. And again, as long as it's just me and her and there's nobody else out, it's probably one of the most peaceful things you could actually ask for, when you're trying to be able to get that exercise in. You don't got to worry about any other people or any other dogs. Just a little chilly out there, but nothing that we can't handle here in the Pacific Northwest. And again, it's probably my favorite walk. I think my night walk is my favorite. The morning walk is probably my second favorite because, you get that crisp air in the morning and you see a few people and maybe a few dogs, but not a lot. And then obviously the afternoon one, you have to kind of time it so that way you can, just try to avoid potential, dangers with other people being a little reckless with their dogs off leash and whatnot. But again, I was starting to get to a point where I was kind of feeling like I was almost going to get sick and whatnot. And I think I would have been good. And I understand the game, ended up being, 6 hours long. The only problem is that I was already here in the studio, 2.5, 3 hours prior, and I was making thumbnails for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So if I didn't do that, I would have been able to go, all 18 innings tired, but with no problem. But, when you sit in a chair, for 8-9 hours straight, at some point, have a breaking point and whatnot. And, we didn't really know when that game was going to end last night. And again, when it goes 17 innings, you don't really know if is it going to end in the 18th inning? Is it going to go 19? Is it going to go 20? You don't really know. And, I ended up going one more inning. I did get a chance to eat and watch the ending with Freddie Freeman with the walk-off, which was fantastic. And again, tough loss, for the Toronto Blue Jays. This is a must-win game for them. That way they can tie the series back up 2-2. Otherwise, they're going to go down 3-1 with a chance potentially to have the Dodgers win tomorrow. So again, it's going to be their backs are against the wall. And unfortunately, George Springer with that injury, obviously as he was holding his hip, he's been kind of banged up. He got hit by Seattle a few times, as well as the Dodgers on the wrist and the knee. And again, George has had a fantastic season, and normally we see him lead off for the Blue Jays. So when you don't have a guy like George Springer in the box, that's a huge loss. So someone's going to have to step up. Alejandro Kirk, maybe Addison Barger. We already know, Vladdy will be Vladdy, but Vladdy might need to be, superstar Vladdy today to make up for that difference of not having Springer in the lineup. So, they might need Vladdy to homer once or twice, today, or one of the role players to do that. So that way they can kind of keep pace. Now, everyone's tired. Everyone is a little bit out of it. Not all the players, ended up getting enough rest. They used, an insane amount of pitchers from the starters to the bullpen. And again, I'm not really sure what to expect in this particular game after having the longest, World Series game, 18 innings last night. And again, we'll see what Shane Bieber and Shohei Ohtani will do. We'll able to make it, 6 innings. Will they have to cut it short, and go maybe 4 or 5? We will wait and see. I think the most surprising thing would be if Bieber and Ohtani actually go past 6 innings, based on what happened last night. But I'm definitely looking forward to an amazing matchup. I love baseball. And again, we are here. Toronto Blue Jays, Los Angeles Dodgers, World Series, game number 4. Dodgers up 2-1 in the series. And I'm definitely excited to see what Bieber and Ohtani have on the mound. TJ in the building. What's good, brother? Yeah, I mean, if I would have, been able to channel in my ESP knowing that it was only going to be one more inning, I would have toughed it out. even though I was trying, to do my best at that point. But again, it was just the extra 2 or 3 hours in the chair, making the thumbnails. If I didn't do that, then I would have been fine. But, anytime you sit in a chair for, 6, 7, 8 hours in a row, I wouldn't really recommend it. It definitely wears on you. So, but I did end up seeing the final, at bat there with Freddie Freeman being the hero. So it's not like I missed anything. All right, Shohei Ohtani on the mound, and leading off, taking over George Springer's leadoff spot will be Nathan Lucas. Batting second on deck, first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and batting third, DHing today, Bo Bichette. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And we'll be shooting for 5 to 15 subs, and we only need 2 to be able to hit 23,200. So I know we're going to hit that today. And, if we're lucky, we'll be able to get 10 to 15, maybe a little bit more before the stream ends. And I'm definitely very thankful, that I have a voice today, because I was a little nervous, that it was going to be in and out or scratchy and whatnot. But did a lot of tea, did a lot of cough drops, a lot of honey, and things are good to go. First pitch from Ohtani to Nathan Lucas, high and away, 1-0 count. Top of the first inning, 0-0, Blue Jays and Dodgers. 1-0 pitch popped up all the way to left field. Wow! Kike Hernandez making a catch right over the first row. And again, Kike always seems to be able to bring out the magic in the postseason, whether it's defense like this or coming up with big plays. Look at that, reaching over and finding a way to get that first big out. Huge. Down goes Nathan Lucas in left field in foul territory, 1 away. Next up is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. First pitch fouled off, low and away. Four-seam fastball, 97 miles an hour by Shohei Ohtani. And that goes behind the plate to that Capital One sign. Ohtani on the mound, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the box. Oh-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, and down goes Vladdy. And another out for the Dodgers here early for Shohei Ohtani, and that is 2 away. Next up, DHing in the 3-hole, Bo Bichette. Pretty good start here for Los Angeles. And again, not enough sleep or rest for pretty much everybody as the pup comes in. First pitch to Bo Bichette, big swing and a miss, 0-1 count. One pitch, big swing and a miss, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Bo Bichette. Yeah, I'm just big on Kike as well, just because, him being a utility player, able to pretty much do, almost every position, that is asked for. And, my first piece of MLB memorabilia was from him, a foul ball against Seattle in Seattle around 2019. And again, that definitely will, give you a little bit extra motivation to kind of follow a player. 2-2 pitch, high and away. Count now is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Bo Bichette. 3-2 pitch, outside, and that is a 6-pitch walk. Bo Bichette to first. Next up is right fielder Addison Barger. Yeah, he's got a lot of energy, that's for sure. Definitely knows how to get everyone hyped up, there in the clubhouse. First pitch from Ohtani to Barger, big swing and a miss, low and at the knees, 0-1 count. Yeah, that too. Top of the first inning, 0-0 Blue Jays and Dodgers. Runner at first with 2 outs. Ohtani on the mound, Barger in the box. 0-1 pitch, low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Addison Barger. One pitch, low and at the knees with the 4-seam fastball. Should have been probably called a strike, but doesn't get the call. 2 balls and 1 strike to Addison Barger. And I'm very curious to see how long Ohtani and Bieber will go today, based on how everything kind of played out yesterday with the 18-inning matchup in Game 3. I'm also curious to see who's going to be working the bullpen for both teams based on what happened last night as well. 2-1 pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Addison Barger. 2-2 pitch, low and away. Curveball off speed, 79 miles an hour by Ohtani. Count now is full, 3 balls and 2 strikes with a runner at first and 2 outs to Addison Barger. Daniel in the building, what's good? And also the impact of not having George Springer lead off as DH is going to be potentially very detrimental to Toronto unless they can get a few of these guys to step up. And Barger with a nice infield single to third, and Bo Bichette scampers to second. But you're going to need like Barger, Alejandro Kirk, Vladdy, someone's going to have to hit, a home run out of those 3 more than likely. And then you may need one of those Blue Jay players to hit 2 in this particular game. It definitely feels like their backs are against the wall, which they are. They're down 2-1 in the series. They lose today, they're down 3-1. And if that happens, you're probably not coming back. You might still be able to win another game or 2 and stretch the series back, to Toronto. But, this is definitely a game where you need to tie the series up. And Dodgers right now are playing with house money. First pitch to Alejandro Kirk, fouls it off right down the middle. 98 miles an hour by Shohei Ohtani. 0-1 count. I think there's more than one missing piece, And Alejandro Kirk pops up to first, and that is out number 3, leaving 2 stranded. But at least the Blue Jays got 2 guys on early, so that has to give them a little bit of confidence. But number 1 priority, re-sign Josh Naylor. Number 2, try to, figure out if we have money to afford Polo to come back as well. And then number 3, try to trade Luis Castillo to another team so we can move Cade Anderson into the starting lineup and then get a little bit of that payroll off the books. Let Mitch Garver go since we have Harry Ford. Let Gino go because we're not going to have enough money for Gino and Naylor, and obviously Naylor is more valuable at this point. Caleb Ferguson obviously can go as well. Bring up Colt Emerson from AAA and let him see what he can do at second and shortstop. And again, make sure that we're grabbing guys in the offseason, in the bullpen. We have plenty of guys at pitcher. We have plenty of guys in the infield and the outfield. We need bullpen pitching. So whether that means, grabbing a starter, from another team and moving him to the pen, or grabbing someone that's just really good in the pen on another team and maybe signing a couple guys like that. So that way, that we can have a little bit more depth in the pen, because that's definitely the weakness. That's probably the biggest for the Mariners, and it's probably the biggest weakness for pretty much every single team in MLB. You might have a really good closer like the Mariners, but again, do you have enough solid pieces, with your 6th, 7th, 8th inning pitcher? If they get injured, do you have enough depth for the backups to come in, to do a good job and not have a meltdown? Or if they end up, being shaky, Spire, Bizzardo, Brash, do we have others that we can rely on? And normally the answer is no. So again, we'll see where it goes. But again, I definitely like our chances moving forward. Let's go to the bottom of the first inning, 0-0, Blue Jays and Dodgers. Victoria in the building. What's good? Leading off for the Dodgers at pitcher/DH, Shohei Ohtani. Batting second, shortstop, Mookie Betts. And batting third, one of the most consistent clutch hitters in the game, first baseman Freddie Freeman. And we saw him hit that home run in the 18th and, get the victory for the Dodgers. But again, that's nothing new to Freddie. Freddie always comes up big, when they need it the most. And again, the Braves haven't been the same since Freddie left. And again, one of those guys that that will be able to step up, especially, whether Ohtani is doing great or has a cold night. Same thing with Mookie Betts. Of course, Freddie's going to have, some days where he goes 0 for 4, 0 for 5, but more times than not, he'll be able to come up with a few hits a game and sometimes even a couple big home runs or big RBIs late like he did last night. Shane Bieber on the mound. First pitch, cutter, high and inside to Ohtani. 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch, high and inside. 2 balls and no strikes to Shohei Ohtani. 2-0 pitch, low and at the knees. Count now, 3 balls and no strikes to Shohei Ohtani. And not being able to hit the zone yet for Shane Bieber, and that's a little alarming. 3-0 pitch, takes a strike looking high and away, outside of the zone. Should have been probably ball 4, but I'm not sure if that was a pity call from the ump or just bad eyes. 3 balls and 1 strike from Bieber to Ohtani. 3-1 pitch, low and away. Another pitch that could have been ball 4, but again, gets another call on the line. Count now is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Shohei Ohtani. 3-2 pitch, and that ends up being a walk, and Shohei Ohtani scampers to first base. Next up for Shane Bieber will be Mookie Betts. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. 5 to 15 subs. We only need 2 to get to 23,200. I know we'll hit that today. And appreciate every single one of y'all, especially my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. First pitch from Bieber to Betts. Takes a strike looking low and away. 4-seam fastball, 92 miles an hour, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, low and away with the slider to Mookie Betts. 1 ball and 1 strike from Bieber to Betts. Bottom of the first inning, 0-0 with a runner at first and no outs. Yeah, this ump is, it's been like this pretty much every playoff series. I watched pretty much every game between the Dodgers and the Brewers, kind of similar. Anything that you watch with the Mariners, it doesn't take very long to be able to point out that we need the ABS, so desperately. And again, some of these umps are too old. Some need glasses, some need contacts, and some just need to retire. That they just can't do it anymore. And again, it's just kind of crazy to see how different everyone's strike zone is from ump to ump. And obviously the ones that hold the grudges as well. 2-1 pitch. Takes the strike looking on the corner. Beautiful pitch there by Bieber. Four-seam fastball, 93 miles an hour. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Mookie Betts. And I get it, people are human, and you expect a few, bad calls here and there, a pitch outside, being called strike, a pitch in the zone called ball. But you don't want to make it a habit where you're, 5, 10, 15 bad calls, for each team. Into the dirt there with that knuckle curve. Good save by Alejandro Kirk. Count now is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Mookie Betts. Yeah, and it definitely will, keep the umps honest, instead of just doing whatever the hell that they want at any single game. And the ABS will be great. Betts flies out to right. And that is 1 away. Next up for the Dodgers, one of the most consistent hitters in the game, Freddie Freeman. Yeah, that would be great. Bottom 10, send them, to get demoted to AAA until they can prove that they can be better, or, have them, find another destination or retire depending on age, and then obviously if you got some guys in AAA or maybe even guys that are in college, that have been doing it for a long time and, have good numbers, I wouldn't mind, bringing some of those guys up. And again, I highly assume that there's probably some very qualified, umps that are doing college baseball that definitely could be in the MLB. There's no doubt about it. 0-1 pitch, low and at the knees. 1 ball and 1 strike from Bieber to Freeman. And I would like to be able to see more college, managers get the call to be a manager in the MLB. I get it. We love to have these former players, but Freeman grounds out to the fielder's choice at second there, and that will be 2 away. But you are starting to see at least the MLB look a little bit closer, and we did have a recent hire from someone from college to go to the MLB, but not as much as we should. And it's hard to be able to find good managers in baseball. It's not like in the NFL where you can, promote your offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, grab one from another team, or even get a college coach or coordinator, offense or defense, and promote them. It's pretty much just kind of like a revolving door. Same thing for the NBA and the NHL. A lot of former players, and there's not really a whole lot of wiggle room for new opportunities for people that are talented, maybe that are in the college ranks, which, obviously we know that they're definitely talented people there. First pitch to Will Smith, low and away. 4-seam fastball, 93 miles an hour, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch, fouled off with the cutter right down the middle. 1 ball and 1 strike to Will Smith. One of the best catchers in the game. He may not be Cal Raleigh, but definitely one of the better catchers in the game, especially representing the National League. You could argue, he might be the best. Now, obviously, you got JT Realmuto and a few other catchers, that are in the National League. And obviously, we know Salvador Perez with the Royals. He's definitely getting up there in age, and there's a few others, but no one is in the same class as Cal, at least not in 2025. 1-1 pitch, and Smith flies out to right, and that is out number 3. End of the first inning, 0-0 Blue Jays and Dodgers. What's good? How are you? Let's see who's up next here for the Blue Jays in the top of the second inning. Next up for the Blue Jays, 6-hole hitter, center fielder Dalton Varsho. Batting second, third baseman in the 7-hole, Ernie Clement. And batting third, shortstop in the 8-hole, Andres Jimenez. On the mound for the Dodgers, Shohei Ohtani. And hopefully this game does not go in extra innings. Hopefully it'll end up being over in, regulation. And, it just seems like, after the All-Star break, there was quite a few, games that went into extra innings. And, again, sitting in a chair for an extended period of time definitely will wear on you. And, hopefully we don't have any more games like that the rest of the World Series. You can only take so much when games go that long, essentially 2 games in one sitting. That's a little bit too much, but again, fantastic finish by Freddie Freeman to finally get that big home run to end the game. And again, I did have a, kind of a weird feeling that, if, that individual didn't make that big play, for the walk-off homer or something of that nature, that game might have been able to go 20 innings. I mean, it was kind of feeling like it was, heading that direction, especially if Freddie didn't get that big play. And, but luckily it ended in 18 rather than 20. And again, we're here for game number 4. Awesome. Tyler in the building. What's good? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Top of the second inning, 0-0 Blue Jays and Dodgers. And I didn't really feel like myself until maybe about an hour or two ago. It definitely kind of threw off my whole routine. And, an 18-inning game will do that. First pitch, and Varsho pops up. Mookie Betts is there, and that is 1 away. Next up for Shohei Ohtani will be Ernie Clement. First pitch to Clement, takes a strike looking high and inside, which should have been called a ball. But again, the umping that we've been seeing, not only in the regular season, but the postseason has been ridiculous. One pitch, takes a strike looking low and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Ernie Clement. One-two pitch, low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Ernie Clement. Yeah, and again, I ended up doing the Mariner game back in the day in 2022 that went like 18, and it's not anything that you're prepared for. And again, I think I would have been much better off if I wasn't in the chair, for 2 hours prior to first pitch, making the thumbnails for yesterday, today, and tomorrow. That's what really killed me. Little slow dribbler, and Ohtani covers the bag. Nice flip there, and that is 2 away. Next up for the Blue Jays in the 8-hole, shortstop Andres Jimenez. First pitch to Jimenez and grounds out to Shohei. And that is a very easy 1, 2, 3 inning there. And again, the Blue Jays need to be able to work the count, especially with no ability with George Springer being injured. They have that much more pressure on them. And again, if they're going to be swinging at the first pitch on Ohtani, it's going to be very, very quick innings. Again, they're assuming that they're going to be able to get that pitch right down the middle and, maybe, take advantage of Ohtani and go yard. But anyone that's watched Ohtani pitch recently, he's been pretty lights out. And again, obviously the big game that we saw, game 4 in the NLCS against the Brewers, he had 10 Ks and 3 home runs. So, I mean, it's not like he's human. He definitely is an alien, and, you're not going to see performances like that anytime soon by anyone else. Let's go to the bottom of the second inning and see who's up next here for the Dodgers. Next up for the Dodgers, in the 5-hole, right fielder Teoscar Hernandez. Batting second, third baseman Max Muncy. And batting third, in the 7-hole, second baseman Tommy Edman. On the mound for the Blue Jays, Shane Bieber. Coy in the building. What's good? Patrick in the building. What's good? Yeah, and I feel like, if the series were to go 7 games, obviously you want Yamamoto to pitch 3 times, again, because he's going to be the best. Even though we know Blake Snell is amazing, but again, there are times where he does get roughed up, like he did in, game 1, where he had 30 pitches in the first inning and then ended up leaving bases loaded when he hit pitch 100. So, but with Yamamoto, he's kind of in a different realm, at least as of right now. And, it seems like he's the most trustworthy, guy on the mound for them. And again, he's shown that he can go for a complete game. And that was the first complete game that we've had in like 11 years. So again, going all 9 innings is super rare to be that dominant and to actually have the skill set to make it that long. And again, obviously with their bullpen woes, that fits right into the strategy for the Dodgers, actually having guys like Snell and Yamamoto that have the skill set that they could go 9. Glass now and Ohtani, it's more like 6 innings most of the time, but Ohtani obviously could go 7 if needed. He's definitely a little bit more reliable, I think, than Glass now, at least at this point in the season. First pitch from Bieber to Teoscar, takes a strike looking on the corner, 0-1 count. Oh, 0-1 pitch, low and at the knees. Knuckle curve missing. 1 ball and 1 strike to Teoscar Hernandez. Yeah, and if you haven't seen Ohtani pitch, if you don't watch the Dodgers on a regular basis, he's very solid, as a starting pitcher. He might not be a top 5, in MLB, but at times he can pitch like a top 5 pitcher, and that's pretty special, with all things considered. Little slow dribbler there, and that is 1 away. Down goes Teoscar. I mean, a guy that could get 10 Ks and 3 home runs in a game. I mean, there's no one else on planet Earth that could do that. I mean, even Babe Ruth, he's doing things that even Babe, who was a pitcher, obviously hitter as well. When it's all said and done, Ohtani definitely is going to be very high in the rankings. 1-0 pitch, low and away. 2 balls and no strikes to Max Muncy. Two-0 pitch, high and away. 3 balls and no strikes from Bieber to Muncy. Oh, Klein. I mean, a lot of people, not just Klein. Klein was huge, but there was a number of guys on both teams, on the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, that were very impressive. Considering how we've seen meltdowns by a lot of those guys, and they were being pretty solid in that big moment. Bottom of the second inning, 0-0, Blue Jays and Dodgers. Next up is Tommy Edman. And we saw Tommy, mess up on that potential double play where that ball went past him, went to another batter, then they hit the 3-run blast. But then he ended up having a couple defensive gems late in the game. And, any way that you can make up for an error or a mistake, a lot of times you can do it with your bat. And that is the most, quick way to be able to have everyone forgive you. But also if you make those big defensive plays, double plays or, fantastic, in a critical point of the matchup, that can give you a little bit more grace as well from the rest of the team and the fan base. Oh, 1 pitch, high and inside, cutter, 87 miles an hour by Shane Bieber. 1 ball and 1 strike to Tommy Edman. 1-1 pitch, low and at the knees. 2 balls and 1 strike from Bieber to Edman. Bottom of the second inning, 0-0, Blue Jays and Dodgers. Bieber on the mound, Tommy Edman in the box. And a big hit there by Edman right up the middle. And that'll get you on the good side with the fan base there. Nice job by Tommy. And he was a real big factor with the team last year. With all the focus on Shohei and Teoscar, he definitely stepped up in many moments last season. And Edman, nice follow-through swing right up the middle. Nobody there. And now you got runners at first and third for Kike Hernandez. And again, Kike may not be a great player during the regular season, but every single postseason, he seems to step it up in ways that are almost unexplainable. He gives you energy and swagger, but for a guy that normally is 180 to 200 during the regular season, at times he can get his batting average up to, 250, 300, almost 50 to 100 points higher. And he can give you, big defensive plays, as well as big RBIs and unexpected home runs. And that's exactly what you want from a utility guy. Again, like if we could have a guy like that on the Mariners rather than Dylan Moore, then we would have been in a better situation. It's one thing to be a utility player, but you got to be able to be good at, the different positions that you play, not just a guy that can play, positions average or below average. Patrick with a 5-er. I appreciate that. Every dollar counts, man. Stacks. Racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. We're at 5:95 to go on the Dono train. Thank you so much for your generosity. And, obviously with the economy the way that it is, obviously it's not the greatest. And anytime that anyone, can support the dream, again, it'll help, pay for the internet bill, the streaming fee, food for my pup, and just the basic things, as well as, being able to help Brooks get his new Beat software. I like to be able to pay it forward, with people that have dreams and goals as well. So thank you so much, Patrick. $5 holla, 95 to go. And we'll see if we can end up getting a few others before the night is up on the Dono train. Bottom of the second inning, 0-0, Blue Jays and Dodgers. Runners at first and third with 1 out. Bieber on the mound, Kike Hernandez in the box. 1-2 pitch, low and away. Pitches it right there on the corner, but just misses it by maybe an inch. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Kike Hernandez. Well, the difference, though, Coy, between the bullpen and the Mariners and the bullpen and the Dodgers bullpen overall stinks. The Mariners actually have some good players, with like Brash and Spire and Bizzardo, but it's just about being consistent. And then obviously we got Andres Munoz, and I would take him over Roki Sasaki. I think Sasaki is good for them, but I think Mooney is better. And a big hit. Oh, and just foul. But if you look at a lot of the guys that they have, they have guys that are in there that are on the, Caleb Ferguson type of skill set, where it's like you hope that they do good, but, you don't really expect too much and whatnot. So, I mean, the Dodgers' strategy is to have their pitchers, go 7, 8, 9 innings. So that way they don't have to go into the bullpen, and until they get to their closer. Like best case scenario for them, they go with one pitcher the whole way. Second best scenario, the pitcher goes 8 innings and they bring in the closer. And Kike pops it up into right field, and that's deep enough there for Muncy to scamper in from third, and we got a 1-0 Dodger lead. Next up is center fielder Andy Pages. And then again, third best scenario for the Dodgers, you get a pitcher that goes 7 innings, so that way you end up having one guy in the 8th and then Roki in the 9th, Sasaki. So, they want to be able to go as long as possible because they know that's the weakest part of their team. And again, for a team like the Dodgers with their payroll, being $350 million plus, you wouldn't really assume that they would have any weakness whatsoever. But even with a team that spends money like that, again, most teams in MLB don't have a very good bullpen. You might have a couple guys that are good. You might even have a great closer, but once some of those guys get injured or play bad, what about the depth behind those guys? And I, feel that you need to be spending more money on the bullpen than any other position. When you get these teams in the offseason that, spend for a first baseman when they already have one, or another outfielder when they already have one, they should be spending more money in the pen, and that would let them go a little bit further. 1-1 pitch, and Pages flies out to center, and that is out number 3. But not after the Dodgers end up getting on the board with that sac fly by Kike Hernandez. Muncy scores from third, 1-0 Dodgers. Let's go to the top of the third inning and see who is up next here for the Blue Jays. Next up for the Blue Jays, in the 9-hole, second baseman Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Batting second, leading off for George Springer because of his injury, 0-for-1 Nathan Lucas. And batting third, 0-for-1 with a K, first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And this is probably going to be a game where you're going to need Vladdy, Bo Bichette, Addison Barger, Varsho, Kirk. You're going to need a few of these guys to go yard. And again, if you're not able to get, a guy to hit 2 in a game like Vladdy or Varsho or Kirk or Barger, then you're going to need to be able to manufacture back-to-back hits. And against Shohei Ohtani, that's almost fucking impossible. Now, once Shohei Ohtani exits, yeah, you're going to be able to get, back-to-back hits and, get on a run. And it's still possible, that you end up getting, 3 guys on board. But more than likely with Ohtani and any of their other pitchers, it'll be based on walking a guy, maybe hitting a guy, and then a guy getting a hit, or maybe walking a guy gets a hit, and then you walk another guy. Or you end up getting 2 hits, and then you walk the third guy, but it's normally not going to be 3 guys back-to-back with like doubles, in 3 batters in a row. I mean, now that's obviously best case scenario for any team, going against Ohtani or a good pitcher, but again, you have to be able to be really locked in and a little lucky at that point. Let's go to the top of the third inning, 1-0 Los Angeles. Yeah, it's never over until it's over. But I mean, if you're looking at the roster, top to bottom, it definitely feels like the Dodgers are stronger. And obviously, if the Blue Jays were going to win the whole thing, They needed to win yesterday. The winner of game 3, that usually gives you a 58 to 60% edge, moving forward into the series. Now, do I think that Toronto can still find a way to push this series back to Toronto to game 6, game 7? I do, but not having George Springer available is really going to hurt them. I mean, think about how much damage Springer, did during the regular season and the postseason. If you're not going to have access to him game in and game out the rest of the way, that's a huge hole that I'm not sure if they have another guy that can step up. I mean, we already know Vladdy will be Vladdy, and every once in a while, Kirk and Varsho will do their thing. Barger's been pretty good lately, but, not having George in the lineup is not going to be ideal. They're definitely going to need a little bit of luck and a little bit of, an extra, something to be able to step up. And again, we'll see where it goes, but obviously going down 2-1 in the series, we got game 4 and game 5, here in LA. And again, we will find out, if LA wins this and they go up, 3-1, it potentially could be over tomorrow, but again, they make more money when the series goes longer, but again, they're going to have to earn it. 0-2 pitch, low and away to Kiner Falefa. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Ohtani to Kiner Falefa. Top of the 3rd inning, 1-0 Dodgers. I'm hoping it goes, 7 games. I really do. I love being able to see series, go as long as possible. 6-7 games is always fun. But based on that Springer injury, that could be the end of them. Yeah, this ump, Victoria, is just like the umps that we saw when we watched Seattle. I mean, it's just universally bad all around. Little slow dribbler, Kiner Falefa, throw to first. Freeman is there, and that is 1 away. Yeah, and normally Springer is not out there playing a position. He's DH like Ohtani, typically leading off. But if you actually look at his numbers from last year and then this year, it was a night and day difference. Maybe one of the most improved players from one year, to the next, and made a lot of subtle changes with his batting approach, his pregame regimen, and everything in between, and it definitely showed. And if Springer didn't have such a fantastic year, maybe they're not here at this point. So, even though he's one of our enemies as far as Mariner fan base, being on the Astros and now on the Blue Jays, I don't wish injuries on anyone, and hopefully Springer will end up getting healthy enough to play at least 1 or 2 more times before this World Series is over. But I'm not sure if that's going to be possible. 1-0 pitch, fouls it off, low and at the knees towards that first base line. 1 ball and 1 strike to Nathan Lucas. And I always like to be able to see guys that really put in that extra work, in the off season, to be able to make changes, whether it's batting stance, diet, putting in more reps in the cage, whatever it may be. And a nice hit by Nathan Lucas, and that was almost very George Springer-like, at the top of the order to be able to get a hit and to give him a little bit of momentum there. Nice job by Nathan Lucas. And this is kind of, unseen territory. Lucas never leads off, so this is a little weird for him, but so far so good with the production. Next up is Vladimir Guerrero Jr., who normally is in the 3-hole, but obviously with the injury to Springer, they got to move him up a spot. Let's see if Vladdy can, get one at some point, because they're probably going to need him to homer, today, tomorrow, once or twice, and if not, then you're going to have to get ribbies. Again, he just can't be a guy that just doesn't give you anything. Because if you're already not having Springer and Vladdy goes, 0 for 4, 0 for 5, or 1 for 5 in both games, if that's not a big home run, it might be a long day. 1-0 pitch, high and inside. 2 balls and no strikes to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, there's going to be a few guys based on what they have done to the fan base that, I think Altuve and Springer are definitely at the top. We don't really enjoy those individuals that are thorns in our sides, but it'll always give us a chance to get payback as long as those guys are playing. So you got to think of it that way. 2-0 pitch, fouls it off, and out of play. 2 balls and 1 strike from Ohtani to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Yeah, I've heard that as well. We'll be doing World Series game number 5 tomorrow, same time, same place, 5 o'clock Pacific. And then Thursday, it sounds like Lamar is back, so we'll have the Ravens and the Dolphins, battle of the bads, but at least it'll be Lamar and Tua instead of Tua and, Huntley. And back. See ya. There it is. There's that Vladdy Jr. big home run that I felt that was going to potentially happen. And again, with his back against the wall, even though you're going against Shohei Ohtani, if you're going to be able to tie the series up, you're going to need your best player to step up and hit a home run or two. And what does he do? Hit a home run in the top of the third against Shohei Ohtani. Nice job, Vladdy. 2-1 Blue Jays. Way to bring the electricity for the Toronto fan base. And again, I'm not shocked. I kind of felt like that could be a good possibility, like we mentioned earlier in the stream. And again, with no George Springer, Vladdy has more pressure. And again, the pressure wasn't too much in that moment, and a big 2-run jack, and that's exactly what they needed. Next up is Bo Bichette. And a little slow dribbler there. Throw to first. And that is 2 away. Bo needed to work that count a little bit. And again, Vladdy can get, ahead of the count and, swing for the moon in those first 2-3 pitches. But as far as everyone else, you're going to want them to kind of work the count to find that pitch. First pitch from Ohtani to Barger, fouls it off high and inside, 0-1 count. Oh, 1 pitch, high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike from Ohtani to Barger. 1-1 pitch, fouled off right down the middle. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Ohtani to Barger. Top of the third inning, 2-1 Blue Jay lead after a 2-run jack by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And obviously we had the Kike Hernandez sac fly to give the Dodger their early 1-0 lead. And I'm actually kind of happy that Vladdy hit the home run. I mean, I love Ohtani, and whatnot, and I just love greatness in general, but again, I want to see a good competitive, back and forth. I don't want to see a beat down like the Dodgers gave the Brewers. That was not ideal, and again, and Barger pops up into left field. Kike is there, and that is out number 3. And let's go to the bottom of the third inning and see who's up next here for the Dodgers. Next up for the Dodgers, 0-for-0 with a base on ball, Shohei Ohtani. And we will see if they intentionally walk him, throughout this World Series. You have to assume he'll get intentionally walked at least 2 times every game the rest of the way. And obviously, he hits home runs and he's locked in just as good as anyone at this moment. Batting second, 0-for-1, shortstop Mookie Betts. And batting third, the hero with the home run late in the 18th, 0-for-1 today, first baseman Freddie Freeman. I don't think necessarily Steelers beating the Colts is like 100%. I actually like the Colts team better than the Steelers. I know they've had kind of an easy schedule, for a certain degree, but you can't deny the fact that Jonathan Taylor is playing like the best running back in the league this year. Daniel Jones has played well. And again, Michael Pittman, as well as, some of the defensive studs on the opposite side. It definitely will be a challenge, for them, but I wouldn't really be shocked. I mean, if you can stop, Jonathan Taylor, but again, if you look on the opposite side with Jalen Warren, they don't really have a good, running game. And obviously we know Aaron, at times can sling it, but again, you got, DK Metcalf, who's kind of immature and, tends to blow up, either at the ref, the other team, or his teammates. So, Even though the Steelers, have had a, up and down season, but primarily have been the best team in the AFC North, I actually kind of like the Colts team a little bit more. But again, anybody can beat anyone on any given Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. And it also depends on who's at home and who's on the road. But based on just doing a Steelers game on the channel recently, and I've been paying attention to what the Colts have been doing all year, I'm a believer. I think they're pretty good. Like, I actually like their team better than Pittsburgh. Buffalo is good, but their defense is not trustworthy. Kansas City is not as good as they used to be, but they're still a decent team, that will be floating around. Denver looks very strong on offense and defense. So, we'll have to kind of wait and see how it all plays out. But I'm definitely looking forward to the matchups this weekend, Bills and Chiefs. And then obviously on Sunday night, we'll be doing Seahawks and Commanders. Don't know if Jaden Daniels will be back by then, but we will find out. Bottom of the third inning, 2-1 Toronto. Let them know, Victoria. 4 more to 50. Let's get there. But I don't really think the Colts is a fluke. We know like the Buccaneers and the Eagles and the Lions and Packers and Seahawks and Rams are pretty strong in the NFC. But, I'm a believer in the Colts. They look pretty good this year. To be able to have a record like that doesn't just come by luck. And obviously, Jones and Taylor have earned it this year. Just even look at the Patriots with Drake May. Like, who would have thought that they would be this good this year? No one anticipated that either. 1-0 pitch, fouls it off, low and at the knees. 1 ball and 1 strike to Shohei Ohtani. 1-1 pitch, big swing and a miss, high and inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Bieber to Ohtani. They're not running the same way as they did last year, the Eagles with Saquon. And obviously the passing game is a little hit or miss. Defense is still top tier. Same thing with their special teams, but we'll see how it plays out. It definitely feels like it's kind of a logjam in the NFC with the teams there. A little bit more talent, I think, team for team compared to the AFC. I think the NFC looks a little deeper to me. 2-2 pitch, big swing and a miss. Low and away. Down goes Ohtani, and a nice punch out there by Shane Bieber. Down goes Shohei, and that is 1 away. Next up is Mookie Betts. Yeah, and you never can count the Eagles out. As long as they got Jalen Hurts there with Saquon, A.J. Brown, and Goddard, and Devontae Smith, especially with all the defensive studs as well, they could end up being in the NFC Championship game again. And I think, we'll have to wait and see who will they face if they get there. The Lions, the Packers, the Bucks, the Rams, the Hawks. We'll find out. First pitch from Bieber to Betts, takes a strike looking right down the middle, 0-1 count. And Betts line drive to third to Ernie Clement. What a great defensive play, and that is 2 away. Next up for the Dodgers, 0 for 1. Maybe the most clutch hitter, not named Shohei Ohtani, Freddie Freeman. And even at times, he's more clutch than Shohei. Shohei will put up those huge numbers, 10 Ks, 3 home runs. But if we're talking about game in and game out, and especially in crunch, situations that are, you need to be clutch. There may not be a more clutch hitter in baseball than Freddie Freeman when you need it the most. And he was that way in Atlanta, and he definitely did the same thing here with Los Angeles, and again, we saw it in the World Series last year, making memories, with big home runs and walk-offs, and again, last night. 0-1 pitch, fouls it off towards that third base line. No balls and 2 strikes to Freddie Freeman. And it feels like the AFC doesn't have very many well-rounded teams either. Like Denver is legit, with Bo Nix and that defense. But other than them, with the Chiefs and the Chargers and the Bills, Colts, Steelers, can you really trust those defenses game in and game out compared to maybe some of the other teams in the NFC? It's a little shaky this year for them. It's like they almost have to outscore their opponents in the AFC to win games besides Denver. And Freeman, and that's in the gap. Wow. Freddie just knows how to pull a baseball. He's such a talented fucking player. Nice job by Freddie. Next up is catcher Will Smith. 0 for 1 here in the bottom of the third. 2-1 Blue Jay lead. Yeah, but that ain't going to happen. No chance in hell the Steelers are going to make it. Now, the Colts, potentially could, based on the roster, but obviously I wouldn't count out the Chiefs or Denver, and obviously even though Buffalo's defense is super suspect, as long as they have Josh Allen, they have to be considered. 1-0 pitch, low and away, 2 balls and no strikes to Will Smith. I mean, out of all the teams in the playoffs, the Steelers might end up being the weakest. I mean, you might be able to get in, but can you beat anybody? I'm not too sure. 2-0 pitch, low and away. 3 balls and no strikes to Will Smith. Yeah, and I would assume the Niners will start scaling back and the Hawks and the Rams will, make it, for the NFC West. You'll have the Lions and the Packers in the North, Eagles in the East, and Tampa in the South. So, there'll be a couple conferences that have 2 teams, a couple that only have 1. 3-0 pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle. 3 balls and 1 strike from Bieber to Smith. Bottom of the third inning, 2-1 Blue Jays. Yeah, but it's not realistic for them to be undefeated or any team, at this point. It seems like the league is very, very well-rounded, and, normally you do have a team. Line drive to third, Ernie Clement is there, throw to first, got him. But normally, we end up having a team or two, go 8-0, 9-0, 10-0, not this year, and so that's what makes the NFL so great, besides the officiating, is that everyone's more kind of on an even playing field. Even shitty teams can end up upsetting middle tier, upper tier, and Super Bowl contenders, especially if you maybe a little cocky, a little arrogant, and you might, just overlook an opponent. And again, if you have a great team, but you don't bring your A game and you play a bad team that's trying to win the Super Bowl that weekend, and they strike first, sometimes that first uppercut you don't recover from, and then you end up getting a team like Carolina or Atlanta or some middle tier team like Chicago, like the Bears, where you don't really expect them to beat a good team, and then they end up doing it. So but again, it's definitely a very well-rounded league this year. I definitely would like to see more defense on the AFC side. NFC, it seems like more teams got the D there, but we'll see how it all plays out. End of the third inning, 2-1 Blue Jays. Let's go to the top of the fourth inning. Next up, catcher Alejandro Kirk, 0 for 1. Batting second, 0 for 1, center fielder Dalton Varsho. And batting third, 0 for 1, third baseman Ernie Clement. And we gained a sub. We need 1 sub to be able to get to 23,200. So if you are in the room and you haven't subbed to the channel yet, please do help us get to 23,200 and beyond. The next goal is 25,000 subs. So we got a little, room to get to that point, and hopefully we can get there. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. End of the third inning, 2-1 Toronto. There we go, Victoria. Appreciate you. She says we're at 50. Let's see if we can get the other 50 before the stream ends. And if the game is close, as we get to the 7th, 8th, and 9th, we should have a little uptick in viewership like we always do. Appreciate you, Victoria. And again, it's always going to be a team effort, regardless, if it's a regular, a mod, someone that's new. I do appreciate the support. It definitely has to be a team effort. 1-0 pitch, fouls it off right down the middle. 1 ball and 1 strike to Alejandro Kirk. Ohtani on the mound, and Ohtani has pitched great up to this point, besides one bad pitch that Vladdy got a hold of. But other than that, Ohtani has been great. But again, sometimes that one bad pitch, can end up costing you a game. We would know that as Mariner fans. So. One pitch, high and away. 2 balls and 1 strike to Alejandro Kirk. Ohtani on the mound, Kirk in the box. 2-1 pitch, takes a strike, looking low and at the knees, which should have been called ball. This ump is terrible. I mean, if it's outside the box an inch or two, how are you calling that a strike? Unbelievable. 2-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, and down goes Alejandro Kirk, and that is 1 away. Next up is center fielder Dalton Varsho. First pitch from Ohtani, takes a strike, looking on the line. 4-seam fastball, 98 miles an hour. What a phenom. 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike from Ohtani to Varsho. And once the World Series is over, boy, potentially, Game 7 would be Saturday if it goes that far. I'm definitely going to be, having a countdown, and, can't wait for spring training and, getting back into March. But obviously we'll do some NFL, some college football, NHL, NBA, WWE, NASCAR. There'll be a few things that we'll do as we're waiting for baseball season to get back going again. And, fantastic year, but we got definitely room to grow, to take that next step, and I believe we will. 2-1 pitch, low and at the knees. 3 balls and 1 strike from Ohtani to Varsho. I mean, I love me some NFL, and I love college football, and I definitely can tolerate, the NBA, from time to time. I do enjoy the NHL. I like NASCAR. I did like WWE before they sold out, to TKO and tried to make everything so much more expensive. 3-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, and down goes Varsho. Nice punch out there by Ohtani, and that is 2 away. Next up is third baseman, who's made some great defensive plays at third tonight. 0 for 1, Ernie Clement. First pitch from Ohtani to Clement, low and away, 1-0 count. One-0 pitch, big swing and a miss, right down the middle with that sweeper, 85 miles an hour by Ohtani. 1 ball and 1 strike to Ernie Clement. 1-1 pitch, big swing and a miss, high and away, sweeper again. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Ernie Clement. Because it's extremely hard to do, and not very many people have the skill set to do it. Again, and it's one thing that if you can hit and you can pitch, but most guys that would attempt to pitch, would be average or below average, not good enough to be better than one of the current starters that only pitches, or even someone in the pen that only pitches. That's why Shohei is like an alien. He's a phenom. Babe Ruth pitched and hit, and he was considered, like the GOAT back in the day. And, if you're looking at Ohtani's numbers when it's all said and done, and based on what he's doing, I mean, he's even doing things that even Babe Ruth couldn't do. So, to be able to have, that type of genetics and also skill set to be able to do 2 things on a kind of all-star level, and it's not like Ohtani is just like okay at pitching. He's a guy that, could pitch like a top 5, top 10 guy, and if you look at his numbers, looks like a guy that normally would be like, on an everyday normal year, normally like a top 20, top 25 pitcher, overall, and sometimes even higher than that. So, it's definitely not easy to do. Just like Durangelo on the Mariners, a guy that can pitch left-handed and right-handed. There's definitely been guys in MLB in the past that have tried, but we really haven't had anybody that's been good at it, on both sides on the mound, left and right. Usually you're going to be better on one side than the next, and it's pretty, a pretty big drop off, And again, we've definitely seen guys, be switch hitters like Cal, that raised the batting average up from his weak side, from the right side being really good now. And again, even though the left side might be the strongest, that right side can still do some damage. So let's go to the bottom of the fourth inning, 2-1 Blue Jay lead, and see who's up next here for the Dodgers. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, every once in a while, you'll get someone, that can play, multiple positions or, doing something offense and defense like in the NFL and whatnot. Like we obviously, have a few guys like Travis Hunter, Deion Sanders and whatnot, or people that are phenoms like Bo Jackson, that is probably the greatest athlete, in the last 40, 50 years, to be able to be an all-star in both, before obviously injuries, cut his career short. But if Bo didn't have injuries, we would be probably talking about Bo Jackson in much higher regards than even what we do right now, even with the limited time that he had in his career. But, we've never seen anybody, do all-star level in two different sports. Now, Deion played both, but he was a all-star Pro Bowler in football, but he was nowhere near being an all-star player in baseball. He was average. He definitely was good enough to be in MLB, but he wasn't considered one of the best ever when he played. So, a good role player, but nothing really more than that. So. Next up for the Dodgers here in the bottom of the fourth, 0-for-1 right fielder Teoscar Hernandez. Batting second, 0-for-0 with a run and a base on ball, third baseman Max Muncy. And batting third, 1-for-1, second baseman Tommy Edman. Shane Bieber still out there on the mound. Let's take a look at the stats here. We usually do that in the third or fourth inning. So Bieber's at 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 2 walks, 1 K, 54 pitches, 30 strikes. And Ohtani's at 4 innings pitched, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 4 Ks. And he's got 59 pitches and 37 strikes and gave up the home run, but has been pitching better at this point than Bieber. First pitch from Bieber to Teoscar and flies out to center, and that is 1 away. Next up is third baseman Max Muncy. I want to be able to see Durangelo, as a starting pitcher with Cade Anderson at some point, whether that be, Brian Wu, Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Durangelo, and Cade. And then, Bryce might be on the outside looking in, just in case we have an injury, and whatnot. But, we would assume that Luis Castillo will try to trade him and try to get some of that salary off the books. So that way we can bring up Cade. And, we haven't had a starting lefty that was good in a minute. And I would love to be able to see, the progression of Cade Anderson. Love him. 0-1 pitch. Takes a strike swinging low and at the knees. No balls and 2 strikes to Max Muncy. 0-2 pitch. Big swing and a miss. And down he goes on swinging strikes. And that is 2 away. Down goes Mad Max Muncy. Next up is second baseman Tommy Edman. I think Durangelo will have to wait probably another year or two I don't think he's ready yet, but I think Cade could be on the team next year. But again, we'll wait and see how it all plays out. But for Durangelo, I would assume we're going to have to wait, 1 to 3 years, for him, depending on his development as he works up his ranks into the farm. But as far as Cade, I would assume once we can figure out, if we can get someone to be a trade partner for Castillo, and then there's an opening, then, at some point during the season, I would assume Cade will be on the roster. And if it's not next year, it definitely will be the year after. So. And they're definitely prepping both pitchers to be starters, not to be in the pen. So, even though Durangelo, has a certain unique skill set, they want him to be a starter. So 1-1 pitch, low and at the knees, 2 balls and 1 strike from Bieber to Edman. Yeah, I mean, I still like Bryce, but again, if those guys end up being more consistent and better, especially if you can have a guy go, pitch left, for one batter and then pitch right for another batter. And I mean, that's like the ultimate weapon, and Cade is nasty, as a lefty too. Should have been the first pick in the draft. 3-1 pitch and Edman to first with a walk from Bieber. But I mean, I watch a lot of the single A, high A, double A, triple A, and I know a lot of Mariner fans really don't follow the farm as deeply as I do and a few others that are a part of this channel. But I always like to be able to kind of monitor the progression of our up and coming studs that will be on the roster sooner than later. So, but again, a guy that will be on the roster probably first out of everyone in the farm will be Colt Anderson. And I mean, we've seen Cole Young and Ben Williamson, but Colt Emerson, Colt Emerson looks very, very good. Got promoted to AAA here at the end of the year, and Colt Emerson should be a guy that they could plug into second base. Obviously, we have JP at short, but at some point that could be a spot that he could take, or maybe you could move him to second. Pretty similar position. But Colt's got the highest upside out of any player, better than Cole, better than Ben. And obviously we know Cole and Ben, have showed flashes, but not enough consistency. We've seen some, okay plays, on offense from Cole, but defense needs to improve. And then we've seen Ben Williamson be lights out on D, but not the greatest hitter. But when they, went back to AAA, Ben Williamson, he definitely started to ramp up his numbers, but we'll see how that translates to the big leagues. Because, I mean, you can hit 300-400 in AAA and then go to the big leagues and hit 180. So again, just because you're doing great in AAA against that talent, that doesn't mean that, you're going to go from batting 350 to 400 in AAA and you're going to be a 300 hitter in the big leagues. I mean, for some guys that might be true, but not for everyone. Let's go to the top of the 5th inning and see who's up next here for the Toronto Blue Jays. Oh yeah, love me some Harry Ford, and again, it's nice to be able to see the young, mixed in with some of the vets, and that's when you're going to have a quality roster. Next up for the Blue Jays here in the top of the 5th, 0 for 1, shortstop Andres Jimenez. Batting second, 0 for 1, second baseman Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And batting third, 1 for 2 with a run, left fielder Nathan Lucas, who's doing a great job filling in for George Springer as a leadoff hitter today. Yeah, and obviously we don't need Garver. We don't need Caleb Ferguson. Try to trade Castillo. And then obviously, if we have to choose between Naylor and Gino, it's Naylor all day. And if we had to choose between Polo or Gino, we should choose Polo, based on what he can do as a DH. And obviously we know his defense isn't the greatest and whatnot. But I mean, as far as the money that Gino would want, we're not going to have enough, to be able to bring Gino back, Polo back, and Naylor. So Naylor is the number one priority, and everyone knows it. And again, Polo, I think would be great to come back to the team. He definitely stepped up in big moments, and there was a time where he kind of hit a wall. he was hitting 350 to 450, 9 homers, 384 in April. Then he kind of hit a wall, just like every baseball player does. And then he got hot towards the end of the year and definitely turned into a mini Mr. October for us in a few games. And, it's definitely hard to be a consistent player. Really, the only downside for Polo is his defense kind of stinks. He's not very good at second or third. He's kind of has a noodle arm and he doesn't have very good position out there. So, if they had him at DH and we could have like Colt Emerson at second, and then have him play with JP, even though he's more of a natural shortstop, that would be probably ideal, as maximizing the batting order as much as we can. First pitch from Ohtani to Jimenez, high and away, 1-0 count. Especially when most DHs for the Mariners end up being big guys, Mike Ford, type of guys, so it's kind of nice to be able to have like a regular player, kind of like an Edgar Martinez type in Polo, someone that we can count on that could play, offense and not just be a DH. But, if you got a lot of other good hitters and players that are better at defending, then you got to be able to make that right move. 2-0 pitch. Takes a strike looking low and away. Probably should have been ball 3 right there. Another missed call by the ump. 2 balls and 1 strike to Andres Jimenez. 2-1 pitch. Big swing and a miss. High and inside. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Ohtani to Jimenez. 2-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, and down goes Jimenez, and that is 1 away. The thing is, though, is Ben could, he'll never be a 50 home run guy ever in his career, like Gino. But if he can improve his stats to be a 15 to 20 home run kind of guy at some point and play elite defense, that'll be good enough for us at third base as long as we have Naylor, and they can have that good relationship defensively, for Ben throwing to Naylor at first. And, if we can get to that point, it might start off, being, 8 to 12 home runs and then 12 to 15 and then 15 to 20. But if we can have that kind of progression with Ben, instead of grabbing a guy in free agency and overpaying him and him not being a fit in Seattle, I would rather go with Ben, at third and have Colt, play second or short, even though we got JP and, and obviously Harry can back up Cal when Cal needs a day off. 0-2 pitch. And Kiner Falefa flies out to left, and that is 2 away. Next up is left fielder Nathan Lucas. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Not everyone, goes out of their way to watch, single A, high A, double A, triple A. We got a single A, high A in the Hillsboro Hops. That's not too far from me, and I've never been, But I did love going to the Portland Beavers at Civic Stadium, downtown when I was a kid. That was a lot of fun memories. Like when you didn't have enough money to go see Griffey in Seattle, you could take a 30-minute car ride and, go watch, the Beavers. And the Beavers were the affiliate of the Minnesota Twins back then in the late 80s, early 90s when they won World Series with Kirby Puckett. So they had some really good players that were going back and forth, in that farm system. And, I got some good memorabilia, a couple foul balls and I twisted my ankle, got some autographs and even got some game-worn batting gloves, as a memorabilia from the Portland Beavers. So even though they don't exist anymore, the memories are still there. 3-0 pitch, takes a strike looking low and away. 3 balls and 1 strike to Nathan Lucas. Top of the 5th inning, 2-1, Blue Jay lead. And a nice base knock there by Lucas, and he's really stepping up for the absence of George Springer there. Yeah, but also with the Tacoma Rainiers, they wouldn't really be worth going to besides maybe the last couple years where our farm system has gotten so good, it's the best it's ever been. So, even though, you've lived there, they probably really weren't must-see TV, so to speak, until the last couple years with all these amazing guys in the farm that we've been collecting. So Next up is Vladimir Guerrero Jr. 0-1 pitch, high and inside. 1 ball and 1 strike from Ohtani to Vlad. And we know last time that Ohtani faced Vladdy, he ended up hitting a 2-run jack to give him the 2-1 lead. And they might need Vladdy to hit another home run either against Ohtani here or against the bullpen to win this game. 1-1 pitch, big swing and a miss, low and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes with a runner at first and 2 outs, 2-1 Toronto lead. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. And in play to center field, and that is out number 3 for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Nice job by Ohtani there. Let's go to the bottom of the 5th inning and see who's up next here for the Dodgers. Rob in the building. What's good? Yeah, I was a little nervous, that I was gonna, be sick and not have a voice and whatnot. But, I did a lot of honey. I did a lot of tea, rested my voice, spend a lot of time with the pup. And, I definitely, didn't feel like myself until about 2 hours before first pitch. I was kind of in a haze, kind of a little bit. I felt like I didn't really sleep that great, and the whole timetable of everything, and being in the chair for 8-9 hours. And again, like I mentioned earlier, if I didn't sit in the chair 2 hours prior to first pitch and make thumbnails for yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I would have been fine. I would have been able to make it 20 innings at that point. But that extra 2 hours in the chair prior to first pitch, that's what kind of killed me. And anytime you sit in the chair for 8 hours, it's just too much, and even when it gets past, I feel like 3.5 hours, like, the normal time for like a football game, you start to get a little uneasy. It's not just like, oh, I need to stretch, but it's like, you want to go eat and walk around, and, just being able to be confined to a chair for that long. And essentially it was like 2 full baseball, games yesterday, going 18 and whatnot. So, but my voice is good, thankfully. And again, I feel a little bit better than I did earlier this morning. We'll see who's up next here for the Dodgers in the bottom of the 5th. Next up for the Dodgers, 0-for-1, center fielder Andy Pages. Batting second, 0-for-1 with a base on ball and a K, pitcher Shohei Ohtani. And batting third, 0-for-2, shortstop Mookie Betts. On the mound still is Shane Bieber. And let's look at the stats. Bieber, 4 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 2 Ks, 66 pitches, 36 strikes. And then Ohtani, 5 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks, 76 pitches, 48 strikes. And he really only had 1 bad pitch. And that bad pitch turned into a 2-run blast by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And that gave him the 2-1 lead. Kike had a sac fly in the second with Muncy on third. And that's pretty much where we're sitting right now. Pup was good. After I ended up having some soup and some noodles and some steamed vegetables, we went for a walk, at like 1 in the morning. It was super late. I usually never go that late, but, it is what it is. But there's obviously nobody out in the neighborhood, and, it was kind of crisp and whatnot, but she did great. And then after we got back, we snuggled into bed and fell asleep pretty quick, and woke up early in the morning, went for our morning walk, and, everything was good. 1-0 pitch, high and inside to Pages. 2 balls and no strikes from Bieber to Pages. Now, she's not in here right now. She usually will come in towards the end of the matchup. She's got pretty good instincts on, the time and how long I work typically for and whatnot. But if she comes in before the stream ends, I'll be able to give you guys a little show so you can see. She used to let me hold her a lot longer, when she was like, 1 to 2.5 and whatnot. She would let me hold her on screen, and she would just sit there and relax. But now, as she's getting a little bit older, it's like I can hold her for maybe 10 to 30 seconds, and then she wants down because she wants to sniff around and explore in the house. So 2-1 pitch, takes a strike, looking low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Andy Pajes. Yeah. And again, it's like, I don't got kids of my own. So, it's like, I'm pretty much like, it's my daughter, it's like, I got to be the dog father, and I've definitely committed, my entire life, to this channel and to her. And, I want to make sure that, I give her the best possible life. And, for every one day that we live is like a week for a dog. So if you have that perspective, then you'll definitely go above and beyond, knowing that their lifespan is, that much shorter. So I definitely like to be able to, go above and beyond for her, and I will for the rest of her days. Bottom of the 5th inning, 2-1 Blue Jays. Next up is Shohei Ohtani. First pitch from Bieber to Ohtani, fouls it off low and away, 0-1 count. Yeah, if you check out Instagram, there'll be photos of there. I usually post once a month of her when I take her to get her nails trimmed and dremeled. Then I do a self-wash, and I'll wash her with like 3 or 4 different shampoos. Because, if I'm going to be paying like $35 a month, I want to make sure I get my money's worth with, all the different amenities, at the location. So, 0-1 pitch. Fouled off high and inside. No balls and 2 strikes to Shohei Ohtani. But if you ever have your soul dog or your soul cat, it definitely makes a huge difference, in your mental health. If you've ever had depression and anxiety like I did in the past, which was very bad. And I haven't had a bad day since, me and her have been together here full time and whatnot. So, like, no matter what kind of day I have, in the real world, whether it be here on stream or just, things that are going on in life, I can always count on her to cheer me up, every single day. And you can't even put into words what that feels like, especially if you've gone through the ups and the downs, especially since COVID until now. There's been a lot of craziness, in our world. And, just nice to be able to feel loved, and to have that relationship. 0-2 pitch, and Ohtani takes strike 3 looking, which should have been probably ball 1. But again, this ump is very unreliable, and that ends up being strike 3. Next up for Shane Bieber will be Mookie Betts. And first pitch to Mookie, pops up to center, and that is out number 3. End of the 5th inning, 2-1 Toronto. Oh, no worries. I'm going to go check up on her here real quick, and we'll be right back. All right, so just a quick recap for anyone that's just tuning in. If they just hopped into the room, Kike Hernandez, sac fly in the, the bottom of the second, I believe, and Muncy was at third, came home, 1-0 Dodgers, and then in the top of the third, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. homered to left center, 395 feet with Nathan Lucas on board, and that's where we're sitting right now with a 2-1 Blue Jay lead. 2 runs, 4 hits, no errors. Dodgers 1 run, 2 hits, no errors. And obviously when the game goes 18 innings in the game prior, you don't really know what kind of game you're going to get. And for it to be, 2-1 right now, kind of probably what most of us expected. We were hoping probably it wasn't going to be 0-0, at this point where we had some offense and whatnot. But we'll see how the game kind of plays out. As long as it doesn't go extra innings like yesterday, I'll be good. And if it does go extra, let's end it like in 10, 11, or 12, not 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. All right, we hit our goal. So we need 100 subs now to get to 23,300. Shout out to all the new subs on the channel. And now we're on that next level. Appreciate that. 23,200 subs. 0-1 pitch. Big swing and a miss. Low and away. From Ohtani to Bo Bichette. 0-2 pitch. High and away with the 4-seam fastball. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Bo Bichette. Ohtani on the mound, Bo in the box. 1-2 pitch, fouled off, low and away with the sweeper. Off speed, 85 miles an hour there by Ohtani. 1 ball and 2 strikes with nobody on and no outs. 2-1 Blue Jay lead here in the top of the 6th. One-two pitch, fouled off low and at the knees. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Bo Bichette. And again, Ohtani has been fantastic besides 1 bad pitch, but again, sometimes that's all a team needs to win. One-two pitch, low and away with a curveball. Off speed, 81 miles an hour. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Bo Bichette. And Bo pops up into left field, and that is 1 away. Next up for Toronto, right fielder Addison Barger. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Next up in the box for the Blue Jays is Addison Barger. First pitch from Ohtani, takes a strike looking right down the middle. 4-seam fastball, 98 miles an hour, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, right back to Ohtani, flip to first, and that is 2 away. Next up for the Blue Jays, catcher Alejandro Kirk. 0 for 2 with a K so far. First pitch from Ohtani to Kirk, high and inside with the sweeper, 1-0 count. 82 miles an hour there by Ohtani, off speed. One-0 pitch, high and away. 4-seam fastball, 95 miles an hour by Ohtani, outside of the zone. 2 balls and no strikes to Alejandro Kirk. And we'll be doing game 5 tomorrow, same time, same place. 5 o'clock Pacific. Thursday, Ravens versus the Dolphins, and it sounds like Lamar Jackson will be back, so that'll actually be somewhat worth watching, based on the battle of the bad matchup. And then Friday and Saturday, potentially could be game 6 and game 7 if the Blue Jays can find a way to win some games. Ducks have a bye week, and then on Sunday, we potentially could do 2 streams, Bills and Chiefs, as well as Sunday Night Football, Seahawks and Commanders. Looking forward to that. And pops up, and that is out number 3. No, it's not going to go like it did yesterday. I mean, is there a chance that it goes 10, 11, 12? Of course, but I don't think it'll go any further than that. But hopefully it ends in regulation. I mean, my voice definitely, I want to make sure that I have a voice to be able to continue to work every day. So next up for the Dodgers here in the bottom of the 6th inning, 1 for 2, first baseman Freddie Freeman. Absolute stud. Batting second, 0 for 2, catcher Will Smith. And batting third, 0 for 2, right fielder Teoscar Hernandez. Yeah, well, Jaden Daniels obviously injured for a good chunk of the year. Defense not looking as strong as it did either. And again, a lot of times when you have a rookie that does great, what happens in the second year? You have the sophomore slump like CJ Stroud did. But now CJ's starting to get better, obviously, going from, year 1 to year 2 with the slump and then into year 3. But again, it's not like they've been able to, have a lot of their weapons, at wide receiver and quarterback and defense. A lot of guys have been hurt. So, will they have a chance to, try to get in with a wild card? I mean, they'll try, just like the Panthers and the Falcons, they're kind of in the same boat. They're going to try. Same thing with like the Cowboys, but there may not be, room because you're going to get the Lions and the Packers. You're going to get the Seahawks and the Rams, and obviously the Niners are in the mix still, even though with all the injuries. But at some point, you would assume they'll scale back and start dropping a few games like they did to the Texans last weekend, the Niners. And then you got, the Eagles in the East and the Bucks in the South. So you're probably only going to get one team, in the East and the South, Eagles and Buccaneers, and then you'll get Lions and Packers, and I would assume Rams and Seahawks. The Niners have been great, considering all their injuries, and bringing Saleh back as defensive coordinator with Kyle Shanahan calling the offensive plays. They have had, a lot of injuries. They haven't had Brock Purdy. They haven't had George Kittle. They haven't had a lot of their guys. And on top of that, having injuries with Bosa and Fred Warner, at some point, they've done a great job, just like the Buccaneers with all the injuries. But the difference is the Bucs have a little bit more depth than San Francisco. So you would assume at some point, they'll start scaling back, but, they have been impressive up to this point. If they didn't have Saleh, yeah, I definitely think the record wouldn't be what it is right now. That definitely has helped them. First pitch from Bieber to Freeman, takes a strike looking high and away, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, high and inside, no balls and 2 strikes to Freddie Freeman. 0-2 pitch, low and at the knees with the knuckle curve by Bieber. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Freddie Freeman. I mean, if you think about, the way the Bucs are built and Baker is an MVP candidate, how many teams could actually hang with their RB1, Bucky Irving, not playing, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin not playing, even Ibuka got hurt for a few weeks, and on top of that, having guys in the secondary out, or, it's like you got Vita Vea and Antoine Winfield Jr., and we got Levante David, but, we've had quite a bit of injuries on the O-line, the secondary, and obviously at the running back, wide receiver position, but it also shows you like how good Tez Johnson has been for us as well. And nice base knock towards first base to Freddie, gets past Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and a nice single there by Freddie Freeman. And I like Cohen, the offensive coordinator from last year, who's the head coach of the Jags this year. I like his play calling better than what we have with our OC this year, but, it is what it is. I can't complain. 6-2 record is, no one can complain about that, especially with all the injuries that we've had. And then we've only dropped games to the Eagles and the Lions, and I'm okay with that. We can get payback on them later. Smith on the first pitch and lines out to center. And nice catch. Sliding catch by Varsho. And that is one away. Down goes Will Smith. Next up is Teoscar Hernandez. And Teoscar is definitely good enough to homer today or tomorrow. And this is a must-win game for Toronto. Again, if the Dodgers win this and they go up 3-1, there is a chance that the World Series could be over tomorrow. But Toronto is pretty resilient. And again, if we can get Springer back in the lineup tomorrow, depending on what happens today, then obviously you could probably have it go, 6 or 7 games. But if the Dodgers come back and win this game 3-2 and rip the hearts out of the Blue Jay fans, and then they have, game 5 tomorrow, and Springer doesn't play, that might be all she wrote at that point, And again, we know the Blue Jays aren't going to back down, but obviously that 18-inning loss was going to hurt for whoever lost that game, and obviously this game right now is still in reach. And a nice base knock there by Teoscar. There we go, baby. Runners at first and second with 1 out, and you got to pull Bieber, and you probably should have pulled him, obviously, prior to that Teoscar, hit there. But we'll see, because again, this is where you get paid, right? And if the Blue Jays manager keeps going with Bieber, they may lose the game in this inning. Again, we still have the 7th, 8th, and 9th, but now Bieber is exiting, I believe. Yeah, he's done. And they have to be lucky that Teoscar didn't go yard on that hit, because again, if he goes yard right there and then they go up 3-2, momentum definitely shifts very heavily for the Dodgers, and then the crowd gets back into it, and then they might extending the lead. So, obviously they have to be super happy with Vlad, doing what Vlad does. But again, who else is going to step up? Vlad again? Or are you going to be able to get something big from Bo, Addison Barger, Alejandro Kirk, or Dalton Varsho? Those are the guys that typically homer, as well as Andres Jimenez. So it's like you still got 5 guys out of 9 that potentially could give you a home run, but we'll see what happens after Ohtani exits as well. All right, they're going to bring in Mason Fluharty. Mason Fluharty entering the game now for Shane Bieber. And let's look at Bieber's final line. So 5.1 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, 3 Ks, 81 pitches, 48 strikes. And now we got Muncy in the box against Mason Fluharty. And I know it takes a lot of extra effort, to do the photos of every player, every team, even the guys coming into the game as pinch hitters or guys in the pen. But I think it does something that a lot of other channels aren't willing to do. It definitely allows you to, put a face to a name and get a little bit more educated, about the players in the league, not just your favorite team. If you're a Mariner fan, we definitely can, put a name to a face, throughout the stream. And obviously when you're watching games on TV, they'll have some close-ups, when they're in the box and whatnot. But to be able to be familiar with, the league as a whole, not only will make, myself more familiar with the game, but for you guys watching as well. Bottom of the 6th inning, 2-1 Toronto with runners at first and second and 1 out. And Muncy pops up. And a very easy out there. That is 2 away. Exactly what you wanted if you're a Blue Jay fan there for Mason Fluharty. Next up is Tommy Edman. Let's see if Tommy can come up with a big RBI here to tie the game or take the lead. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. Oh, 1 pitch, fouled off, low and at the knees. No balls and 2 strikes from Fluharty to Edman. Bottom of the 6th, 2-1 Toronto lead with runners at first and second and 2 outs. Oh, 1 pitch, fouled off, low and at the knees. 0-2 pitch, big swing and a miss. And Fluharty gets Tommy Edman to big swing and a miss. And that is the end of the 6th as they strand 2 Dodger players at first and second. Let's go to the top of the 7th inning and see who's up next here for the Blue Jays. Next up for the Blue Jays, 0 for 2 with a K, center fielder Dalton Varsho. Batting second, 0 for 2 with a K, third baseman Ernie Clement. And batting third, 0 for 2 with a K, shortstop Andres Jimenez. Marcus with a tenner, appreciate you. And that was from about 20 minutes ago, but I didn't notice it till now. Thank you so much. And I have been recognizing your support to the channel as of late, and it's very much appreciated. Shout out to Marcus. $10 holla. That's at 15 now, 85 to go to hit our goal. Appreciate you, Marcus. Stacks, racks with a little Cactus Jack. Bang, bang. Another $10 dono from Marcus. Appreciate you. Every dollar counts. That'll go towards the internet bill, the streaming fee, food for my pup, just the basic things that we need to continue to do the dream, moving forward. And also any extra funds will go towards Brooks so we can get that new Beat software upgraded for him. And, I definitely like rooting on my friends that have dreams and goals. So I appreciate that very, very much. I got a Keyshawn jersey in my closet. I mean, I got a lot of jerseys. I got a Keyshawn in the closet, even before they had the NFL tag, when they were with Reebok. I got a Josh Freeman sewn jersey that I still have in the closet. I got Warren Sapp, Simeon Rice, Doug Martin, rest in peace, Doug Williams, Orange Creamsicle, Levante David, Devin White. I mean, I got quite a few. And obviously my favorite player, overall, got to rep him with Derek Brooks. Top of the 7th inning, 2-1 Blue Jays. And let's take a look at Ohtani. Where is he at pitch count wise? Ohtani is at 90. So he's at 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 1 walk, 6 Ks with 90 pitches. So I assume this will be his last inning. And if they can have a quick inning before he gets to 100 pitches, that would be ideal. But first pitch ends up being a single to Dalton Varsho. Nice single there off the first pitch off Ohtani. And again, that's pitch 91. So at some point, they're going to have to pull him. But again, with all of the inconsistent play in the pen, do you really trust, whoever's going to be coming in? I don't have any Brady or Gronk jerseys. I do have, like a Foco Super Bowl bobblehead that's still in the box. And I got a Brady t-shirt, t-shirt jersey still in the plastic that I've never worn. That was a gift and whatnot. But, I'm more of a defensive guy than an offensive guy. If I was going to buy an offensive jersey, it would be, crushes that one in the gap all the way back to the wall. And they got to pull Ohtani. And now we got runners at second and third with a big double there by Ernie Clement. That was huge. But I mean, if I was going to go offense, throwback, Mike Allstott all day. I don't have one of him, and he's one of my favorites and whatnot. Or, guys currently on the roster like Mike Evans or like Tristan Wirfs, things like that. Obviously, there's a lot of guys that you could potentially get. But if we're talking defense, Antoine Winfield Jr., Levante David, guys like that, Vita Vea. And Ohtani's day is done. Probably should have pulled him at the beginning of the inning when he was at 90 pitches. But again, the bullpen has not been very good for the Dodgers here. And again, the game is starting to kind of feeling like it's slipping away from Los Angeles. And again, I kind of felt that the Blue Jays were going to win 1 out of 3 games here. And then it was going to go back to Toronto. And maybe this is the game that they win. And then, we'll see what happens tomorrow. But you got to be able to make the right decision at the right time, and it's hard being an elite manager. You have to really be locked in, not only on pitch count, but just the vibe that you have. And Ohtani, at 90 pitches, that should have been it. But again, they didn't give up a big home run, but he leaves them in a position where you bring in a shitty guy from the pen. You got runners at second and third and no outs. You would assume at the very least they're going to score a run. And it'll be 3-1, but more than likely, they'll probably score 2, maybe even more than that. So if you get down 4-1, you might not come back if you're the Dodgers, unless you end up hitting a 2-run bomb or a 3-run jack in the 7th, 8th, or 9th. And based on the 18-inning game yesterday, that might not happen. So we'll have to wait and see. Next up is Andres Jimenez. I got a good amount of jerseys. I got 5 to 10 Duck jerseys, probably 8 to 10 Tampa Bay jerseys, 5 to 8 Mariner jerseys, a couple Blazer jerseys, not as many, usually like Damian Lillard, Clyde, stuff like that. I don't own any Kraken jerseys since they're kind of new and whatnot, but that glow-in-the-dark black jersey that they gifted Josh Naylor and Cal, that one would be the one that I would buy if I had extra money, but I don't. So, but maybe one day. But I used to buy a different Bucks jersey every year, for quite a while, but I haven't been able to afford to do that. And obviously now the jersey quality has changed quite a bit. If you look at what baseball, basketball, football jerseys, Fanatics and all that cheap bullshit material and whatnot, like, obviously we know Mitchell and Ness or like the authentic jerseys are the real deal. But I mean, how many people can afford, paying $200 to $500 per jersey? I guess if you're rich and whatnot, but and we got Anthony Banda in the game. First pitch, big swing and a miss. 0-1 count. Oh, 1 pitch, low and away. Banda on the mound. Andres Jimenez in the box. One pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle. Tries to paint that corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Banda to Jimenez. And again, I was a little shocked on how good the Dodger bullpen and the Blue Jay bullpen did yesterday. You know, you assume that there was going to be some major fucking meltdowns, but it didn't happen. And a lot of those guys in the pen pitched fantastic, not just Klein. 1-2 pitch, low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Andres Gimenez. 2-2 pitch, low and away, missing the strike zone by like 5 feet there. Count is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Andres Gimenez. Well, the NFL used to be Reebok back in the day, you know, in the late 90s, early 2000s. You know, and then obviously once that Reebok contract ended, then it went to Nike. You know, so usually every, you know, however many years, you know, 10, 15 years, you know, they have a deal. And once the deal expires, they typically go with another, you know, brand if they're willing to pay more. So it's like baseball jerseys back in the Griffey era, you know, the sewn ones. Like I have a vested Ken Griffey Jr. with a turtleneck, you know, from like 97. And that's Russell Athletic. And then obviously, you know, they went from, you know, different brands after that. And again, you'll start to see the same thing in every sport, you know, NHL, MLB, NBA, and the NFL. You know, they usually don't stay with the same brand, you know, year in and year out. You know, once the contract is up, then they usually shift and go a different direction. So pitch fouled off there by Gimenez. Count still is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes from Banda to Gimenez. 3-2 pitch. And fouls that one off with the slider, low and away. Count still full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Andres Gimenez. Nice. Yeah, I got a lot of amazing Bucks merch, you know, and one of my prized possessions is I actually have the 2002 Super Bowl shirt. Oh, big hit. Gimenez singles to left, Varsho scores, and Clement dances into third. 3-1 Blue Jays, and they may need a miracle, the Dodgers, to win this one. This one looks like it's going to be out of reach for them, and the series is more than likely going to be tied. Big hit by Andres Gimenez, but it shows you, even though Shohei gave up a couple hits, he probably would have been able to get out of the inning. But with these guys on the Dodgers, meltdowns are more likely to happen, and you're already starting to get one. Next up is Isaiah Kiner Falefa. But I have a 2002 Super Bowl shirt, when Gruden ended up leading us against the Raiders. And not only do I have the price tag still on it, I still have the hologram that's on it as well. It's a super rare shirt. Most people bought it at the mall and wore it. And again, I haven't seen too many people that have one with the tag still on it with the hologram. And, again, even if someone offered me $100, $150 for the shirt, I wouldn't sell it, and it's definitely worth over $100 because you can't find one, especially brand new and whatnot. So again, I got a lot of jerseys and other things, but as far as like collectible t-shirts, that one holds some good value, just like a lot of those rock band shirts, from like the 80s and 90s when you had certain bands like Metallica or Guns N' Roses, back in the day tour, and then you ended up getting one of those old school shirts. Some of those end up going for a couple $100 nowadays as well. So 2-0 pitch, low and at the knees. 3 balls and no strikes to Isaiah Kiner Falefa. But that's super dope about the Ronde. Again, like I have a lot of the defensive players, Derek Brooks, Sohn, and then, I got Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, but I don't have a Ronde and I don't have a John Lynch, but one day I will. And I don't have an all-star. That's the one I wanted the most. But, obviously as time goes on, you have other priorities and whatnot. And obviously on the current roster, there's plenty of guys, that you could think of. Tristan Wirfs would be a sweet one. We haven't really had an offensive lineman worth actually buying a jersey for. And then I love me some Antoine Winfield Jr. And I'm kind of a linebacker safety guy. I like defense first, but I do appreciate O-line, D-line, defense, and coaching and play calling. So not that, quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end are overrated, but they definitely get a lot more spotlight than, the positions that win games for football, like O-line and D-line. And maybe one of these days I'll end up grabbing a Mike Evans. That would be definitely a jersey worth getting before he retires or right after. Line drive to third. Double play at first. Wow. What a laser throw there. Wow. Kiner Falefa with a line drive to third and then got that throw. And Muncy, look at that. What a laser, and got him. That was huge. And that might have saved the Dodgers, in this game. Or, again, if this game gets to 4-1, 5-1, it's probably over. But if they can get out of the inning with just being down 2, they still have a chance. Oh, he might be safe. After looking at that replay, he might be safe at first. I think the hand got in there before the ball, might have hit the webbing. Marino, Wake, Zach Thomas, Taylor, Ray Finkel. Wide left, wide right. Top of the 7th inning, 3-1 Blue Jays, runner at third with 2 outs, but it looks like that runner at first was safe, so it'll go back to being runners at first and third with 1 out, more than likely. And I've been a Bucs fan since 95, so most of the teams that I root for are in Oregon or Washington. The only exception is Tampa. And again, Seattle, Seahawks, the 49ers, the Raiders, the Chargers, they didn't really have what I was looking for, connection-wise defensively. I mean, besides maybe Junior Seau on the Chargers, but I didn't really have a connection to them. So I waited, 1 more year, and when Brooks and Sapp got drafted in the first round, they already had Lynch there. I was like, these are my kind of guys. I vibe with these guys. And then Rondé, and then getting Allstott, and, obviously the rest is history. So, but most fans that like football are offensive minded, especially with the, jerseys that they buy. I'm kind of the opposite. I'm like that other 5% that would rather get a, defensive jersey or offensive line or something different. So runner at safe, call overturned. And now they're going to have Ty France come in and hit for Nathan Lucas. I mean, Lucas has done well. I think I would rather have Lucas hit, but, let's see if this decision works out for them or not. All right, let's see what the former Seattle Mariner and Minnesota Twin is going to do here for the Blue Jays. This is kind of weird seeing him on a Blue Jay uniform. 257 average, 7 homers, 52 ribbies. He's 1 for 3 in the postseason. First pitch, big swing and a miss, low and at the knees, 0-1 count. But I think based on how Nathan Lucas played today, I don't think I would have done this. I think I would have just, seeing how it all played out with Nathan Lucas. Again, Nathan did a great job filling in for Springer as the leadoff hitter, and it's not like Nathan Lucas is 0 for 3 today. But we'll see if Ty France can come up with a big RBI here. And a little slow dribbler there. And he does get the runner to come home with the ground out. So I guess Ty does his job. 4-1 Blue Jays. Nice job by Ty. And Ernie Clement comes home. And Vladdy intentionally walked, getting the Shohei Ohtani treatment after hitting a home run earlier today. And next up will be Bo Bichette, and that will be the end of Banda. Shows you, like how good your pitching can be during the, first 5, 6, 7 innings, and then you bring in a couple of these suspect guys in the pen, and then the game can just, you lose and win more games out of the pen. you can end up being up 5-0 with your starter, bring in a couple guys in the pen, and then all of a sudden 10 minutes later you lose 6-5, and you're like, what the hell happened? We were dominating the whole game. And that's why it's so important to be able to have a strong, bullpen. But for whatever reason, baseball teams never make that a priority. It's like they might have a guy that's decent and a good closer, but, instead of getting, extra first baseman or extra outfielders, why don't teams, end up pursuing in free agency, bullpen? That's what I want to see the Mariners do. They have plenty of guys in the farm, that can play, outfield, infield. We already have Harry Ford as a backup catcher. They should not spend any money on any player, in the offseason besides bullpen pitching. But obviously, more than likely they will. And again, obviously getting Josh Naylor to come back, you want to pay the guys that are already on the team like Naylor and Polo, but, we don't really need to be spending money on guys outside. We need to use that money for guys in the pen, either quality starters that we move to the pen, or guys that are already in the pen on other teams, and then, make that a part of the Mariner organization. Because obviously you've seen, like the Emerson Hancock experiment, like where you bring a guy that was a starter in the pen and he was even worse than he was when he was a starter. So, we've only had one bad draft pick in the last 5 years, and that's Emerson Hancock. But, if you can't make it as a starter, you probably aren't going to be able to make it as a bullpen guy either. So you definitely have to appreciate, guys like Bizzardo and Brash and Spire, even though at times they are shaky, and obviously we love Andres Munoz, but we definitely need more depth behind those first three guys, because if they end up sucking or getting hurt, you don't want to be left with guys like Caleb Ferguson or Carlos Vargas. And if you end up having that, that's what the Dodgers essentially have right now. They got a bunch of Carlos Vargases out there, and that ain't going to, every once in a while, a blind squirrel will get a nut, right? And Carlos Vargas will play well, just like some of these guys on the Dodgers. But most of the time, they're going to get ripped apart. And right now, Blue Jays up 4-1 with runners at first and second and 2 outs. And it's going to take a miracle for the Dodgers to come back, and it doesn't feel like they are. It feels like Toronto is going to get enough, and the Dodgers still might end up scoring 1 or 2 more runs before the game is over, but I don't think it'll be enough. And I think Blue Jays, at this point, with the momentum, it's going to take a miracle for Los Angeles to come back and win this game. 72, 28 more. Appreciate you, Victoria. And we got Trinan in the game. Takes a strike, looking right down the middle, 0-1 count. And crushes that one all the way back to the wall. And huge hit. That brings in another run. Bo Bichette. Jimenez scores. This one's over. And again, shows you might have Shohei Ohtani starting off the game, but you bring in Banda and you bring in Trinan. Goodbye. And this was more of a must-win game for Toronto anyways after losing yesterday. Now you tie the series up, even though we still have a couple innings to go. It's 2-2. You would assume the Dodgers will win tomorrow. They'll go up 3-2, and then the Blue Jays will be in a position, to potentially, get it to Game 6, Game 7 back in Toronto. Next up for Blake Trinan is Addison Barger. And Barger with a single. Vladdy scores. Bichette to second. And again, the game is opening up in ways where the Dodgers are not going to have enough time to come back. Nice job by Barger, bringing that electricity. And it really does show you the difference between good pitching and bad pitching. Next up is Alejandro Kirk. Ohtani was at 90 pitches in the 7th. He normally only pitches 6 innings, just like what we had from Glasnow yesterday. Usually Snell and Yamamoto are only the guys that will go the distance, 8-9 innings. But again, he gave up back-to-back hits, and they had runners at second and third, and then they pulled him. But again, second and third with no outs, Ohtani might have been able to get out of the jam, or maybe would have only given up a run or 2. But then you end up going to Banda and now Trinan, and now the game's over. So it definitely, I feel almost like if the Blue Jays would have won yesterday, this would have put them in actual position, to, potentially win it all. But since they lost yesterday, they still could win it all, but again, I would assume the Dodgers will respond tomorrow and win. And then, the Blue Jays are going to have to do their best to try to force Game 7 and then, let the fans try to carry them to victory. But that's obviously going to be easier said than done. But at this point, I mean, it feels like if you got Snell, you got Yamamoto, and you got Ohtani, right? You try to make those guys go as long as you possibly can, 8-9 innings. Even if things are getting a little rough, because, if you're going to go with anybody else besides Roki Sasaki, I mean, it's, not looking too good. And obviously Glasnow doesn't have the ability to go 8-9 innings. He's going to go like 6, sometimes even less than that. So, but as good as all the bullpen guys did yesterday for the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, again, Shohei really only had one bad pitch, right? He gave up a 2-run jack to Vladdy early in the game. That made it 2-1. But then now you bring in Banda and obviously with Blake Trinan, and, it's just like having a Carlos Vargas out there for the Dodgers. Not ideal. Even though Vargas at times did some good, but most of the time did a lot of bad. And just like that, when the game was only 2-1, now it's 6-1. Blue Jays score 4 in the 7th, and it feels like this one is over. Going to take a miracle for the Dodgers to come back. They're going to need like a 3-run jack or a grand salami to get back in it. Yeah, umps have been really bad today. I mean, but we say that pretty much every day when we watch baseball. Let's go to the bottom of the 7th inning and see who's up next here for the Dodgers. Next up for the Dodgers, 0 for 1 with a RBI, left fielder in the 8 hole, Kike Hernandez. Batting second, 0 for 2, center fielder Andy Pages. And batting third, 0 for 2 with a base on ball and 2 Ks, pitcher Shohei Ohtani. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. We just hit 23,200 subs today, which is fantastic. So now we have a goal of 100 more subs to get to 23,300. Shout out to all the new subs that we've acquired here today and this year. Yeah, yesterday was not ideal, and if I didn't spend 2 hours, prior to first pitch making thumbnails for yesterday, today, and tomorrow, I think I would have been okay even if the game would have went 20 innings yesterday. But sitting in a chair for 2 hours making thumbnails and then doing a 6-hour game and being in the chair for 8 hours plus, it was just too much. Now if I would have known, and my ESP was registering that it was going to only go one more inning, I would have toughed it out. But honestly, when we ended up scaling back in the 17th inning yesterday, it kind of felt like the game might go 18, 19, 20. So at that point, I needed to, get some food in my system. And by the time I ended up taking my pup on a walk, it was like 12:01 in the morning, So, but again, the walk was nice, crisp. Nobody was out. And normally, even when I walk at 9, 10, 11, there's nobody out, really. It's pretty rare that I see someone, even with a garage open or a dog and its owner walking around. And I think that's usually my most peaceful, time, where it's just complete darkness. I don't bring any headphones. I just like to listen to nature and just, walk with Paisley and get that exercise in. And yeah, I don't think my voice would be able to handle back-to-back 18-inning games, but I did a lot of honey, a lot of tea, and a lot of Ricola cough drops. And, I was a little scared I wasn't going to have a voice today, but, everything worked out. Chris Bassett enters the game here against Kike Hernandez. First pitch is fouled off, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, and Kike grounds out to the shortstop, throw to first, and that is 1 away. Next up for Chris Bassett, pinch hitting, Alex Call. And he's pinch hitting for Andy Pages. And again, Pages, that's another weakness for the Dodgers. They need a better player than Pages, even though he did okay during the regular season. So they definitely need a better offensive and defensive player there in center. 25 more to get to 100. Let's get there. And we're at 15 on the Dono train, 85 to go. Shout out to Marcus and shout out to Patrick. 0-1 pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle. No balls and 2 strikes from Bassett to Call. Bottom of the 7th inning, 6-1 Blue Jays. And honestly, if Ohtani would have stayed in the game, they still were going to score when the score was 2-1. But maybe the score is like 4-1 right now, not 6-1. Or maybe it's 3-1, and it's still like in range for the Dodgers. But, bringing in Banda and Trinan, not ideal. And again, if the Dodgers were smart, they would definitely be looking at boosting that bullpen. But it seems like every team takes that position group for granted. You lose and you win more games with your bullpen than any other position group. 1-2 pitch and takes strike 3 looking low and in the zone. And that is 2 away. Down goes Alex Call. Next up is Shohei Ohtani. I would assume that the Dodgers will win tomorrow, going up 3-2, and then it'll go back to Toronto with the pressure for them to be able to win Game 6, and then hopefully it goes Game 7, and then let the best team win. But again, if the bullpen struggle on either side, then again, we may end up having a team like Toronto possibly winning in 6 or 7. It could happen. If the Dodgers do lose this World Series, it will be because of the bullpen. There's no doubt about that. 1-0 pitch, low and away. 2 balls and no strikes from Bassett to Ohtani. Two-0 pitch, takes a strike swinging low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike to Shohei Ohtani. Little slow dribbler, throw to first. And that is 1, 2, 3. A little Norm Charlton, a little Randy Myers, and a little Rob Dibble. I think Rob Dibble is the one that most people will say first. And then Norm is normally second. But I think Randy Myers is one of those, like, unless you watched back then, you may not even remember today, unless you're a Reds fan or a super intelligent MLB fan that remembers. Let's go to the top of the 8th inning with the Blue Jays up by 5 in firm control here of Game 4. And again, if the Blue Jays would have won yesterday, do they win this game today? Hard to say, but then that would have given them probably the best chance of winning the World Series. Because again, if you win yesterday and you win today and you go up 3-1, it feels like even if you drop the game tomorrow, you're going to win the World Series in Toronto. But again, that was a heartbreaking loss yesterday. But again, bullpen ended up being bad like we figured it would be at some point for the Dodgers. And now we are potentially going to be tied up 2-2 and a very good chance of this going, 6, but I hope 7 games. Next up, 1 for 3 with a run and a K, center fielder Dalton Varsho. Batting second, third baseman Ernie Clement, and batting third, shortstop Andres Jimenez. For me, a lot of my knowledge in sports and baseball is just the amount of cards that I collected in the junk wax era and memorized, the the names of the players, the height, the weight, the college, the batting average, flipping those cards over and memorizing the stats, putting them in the binders. And, and it was for all sports, baseball, basketball, football, hockey, and even though those cards really weren't worth a whole lot of money, but, obviously the memories, back in that time era and whatnot. So the good old days. Top of the 8th inning, 6-1 Toronto. Chris Sabo. I was just thinking that same name as well. I know whenever we think throwback names, that's where we go. So, if I think throwback names, I can think of all the teams, but, I think Chris Sabo with the goggles, Jim Abbott with, obviously only one arm. He obviously got the no-hitter later in his career, but I, mostly remember him on the Angels. And, just going through all of those kind of obscure names, Walt Weiss, Carney Langsford, the Sean Dunston, the Vince Coleman, guys that are on TV now, like John Kruk. It's like you can go through, pretty much every team, and I can name drop people that I remember either watching or collecting the cards back then. So it's kind of crazy how you can remember things from like 40 years ago, and then sometimes you can't even remember what you had for lunch yesterday. I got Jack Dreyer in the game now. First pitch from Dreyer to Varsho, takes a strike looking high and away. 0-1 count. Dreyer on the mound, Varsho in the box. And that gets popped up. Muncy is there, and that is 1 away. Next up for the Blue Jays, third baseman Ernie Clement. 1 for 3 with a run and a K. Top of the 8th inning, 6-1 Toronto. Yeah. And then obviously when you think about Will Clark, who else do you think about? Kevin Mitchell, and a few others. So Bobby Bonilla, Pitch fouled off behind the plate die by Clement. No balls and 2 strikes from Dreyer to Clement. Top of the 8th inning, 6-1 Toronto lead. 0-2 pitch, low and away. Slider off speed, 90 miles an hour. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Ernie Clement. One-two pitch, fouled off, high and inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Dreyer to Clement. And we'll be live tomorrow at 5 o'clock Pacific, and that'll be for World Series Game 5 on Thursday. We'll be doing Thursday night football between the Ravens and the Dolphins, but it sounds like Lamar will be back, so that'll make the game fun to watch, for the battle of the bads between the Ravens and the Dolphins. In the last game Tua played, he had 4 touchdown passes, so we'll see if he can actually make it worthwhile. And diving headfirst into first base, safe, Ernie Clement. Wow, I like that hustle. Yes, there will be a World Series MVP. I would assume if the Dodgers win, it'll be Ohtani or Freddie Freeman. I would assume it's going to be one of those 2 guys. Freddie obviously came up big already once, and we'll see what we get as the series goes on. And Jimenez gets hit by a pitch. Ooh, right in the shoulder. Jesus Christ. I hope he's okay. And the Blue Jays doing this with no George Springer. Very impressive. And again, like Shohei, will end up having like the monster game, 10 Ks, and 3 home runs as he did in AL or NLCS Game 4 against the Brewers. But I feel like with Freddie Freeman, he's going to be more consistent game in and game out. And to win a game at the end, it'll more than likely be from Freddie rather than Shohei winning the game at the end. Shohei usually will do the production during the game, but Freddie is like that guy that makes the big play at the end. And he obviously did it last World Series and starting to do it already in yesterday's game with the walk-off. Top of the 8th, 6-1 Blue Jays with runners at first and second and 1 out. First pitch to Kiner Falefa, high and away, 1-0 count. And then if obviously it goes Game 6 and Game 7, that'll be on Friday and Saturday. Ducks have the week off, so we can obviously do World Series Game 7 on Saturday. Hopefully it goes that far. And then Sunday, we got the Chiefs and the Bills in the afternoon, and then the Commanders and Seahawks on Sunday night. So depending on how my voice feels, I might try to do both of those games. Even though the Bills and Chiefs may not be as good as they have been in years past, they're still 2 of the better teams in the AFC. So, and that is 2 away. It's Savage and Snell. Looking forward to that. And now coming in is Miles Straw. Dryer on the mound, Straw in the box. Top of the 8th with runners at second and third with 2 outs. Blue Jays up 6-1. We're not going to have an 18-inning back-to-back matchup. And that'll be good for my voice. That way I can go on a walk with the pup at a respectable time rather than at midnight, 1 a.m. Pitch fouled off. Low and at the knees. No balls and 2 strikes with runners at second and third and 2 outs. Dryer on the mound, Straw in the box. Yeah, I agree. And like I said, if we can trade Castillo and we can have Cade be the 5, I think that he is really going to surprise a lot of people. I mean, I know some people, ended up watching some LSU or at least the, College World Series to get an idea how good Cade was. We got a couple LSU fans on the channel, like STL, and he was talking to me about Cade years ago. And then before the draft, he said, watch, the Mariners are going to get him. And it happened. So, I definitely have been deep diving on Cade for the last few years. And he could have been the first pick in the draft. Nationals went for a utility player. And then the Angels had the second pick and decided not to draft him. So we're definitely going to make the Angels pay for being stupid. And I'm glad that they decided to go a different direction. And that is out number 3. Let's go to the bottom of the 8th inning. 6-1 Blue Jays. Pretty rare to be able to get the best player in the draft potentially at the 3rd pick in the 1st round. But, if they feel like, obviously the Nats, wanted a positional player, so I don't blame them. But, if you got someone as good as Cade, it's kind of crazy that he dropped to 3, but I'm so thankful he did. Next up for the Dodgers, 0 for 3 shortstop Mookie Betts. Mookie has been pretty quiet so far, so I assume that he'll be better tomorrow. And again, if they end up winning the game, maybe Mookie will end up having his breakout game because he has been a little quiet as of late. Batting second, 2 for 3. First baseman, Mr. Reliable, Freddie Freeman. And batting third, 0 for 3, catcher Will Smith. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. We just hit 23,200. Next goal, 23,300. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Shout out to the Blazers. Denny Advia, 3 straight games in a row, balling out of control. And even with all the injuries with Scoot and Dame, obviously no Luka, no LeBron, but we'll take any win we can get. Obviously, previous game to that was the Clippers and just fell short in the fourth quarter like we did when we played Anthony Edwards, obviously, who's now injured against the T-Wolves. It's like Blazers are great for the first 3 quarters, but the fourth quarter, they have to find a way to win. Kind of sounds like Kyle Shanahan on the Niners. Can be great for the first 3 quarters, but can't figure it out in the fourth. But it's nice to be able to see a team that's dedicated to defense first. And we haven't seen a Blazer team dedicated to defense first in a fucking long time. So Donovan Kling Kong, and the crew with Yang looking pretty nice, and Kraken, second place in the division with the Vegas Golden Knights. They look like a playoff team this year. I know it's still early in the season, but nice to be able to see a couple teams in the Pacific Northwest, playing some pretty good ball here early on. First pitch to Mookie Betts, high and away, 1-0 count. And I do think the Blazers have a chance to get the 8 seed. I'm not saying that they're going to be, like the Spurs and Wemby or OKC. There's no way. But there is a chance that they could be like a 7 or 8 seed, and I think that's realistic, based on if you look at the rest of the West and, kind of ball that they're playing right now. And a big hit by Mookie. And there you go, Mookie trying to get going here. Nice single to left. Next up is Freddie Freeman. Wow, that's wild. 0.53. And again, it's going to turn into being one of the best lefties in the game, I believe. He'll start off like Brian Wu in the 5 in the rotation, and then after a few years, he might turn into like what Brian Wu was for us this year, hopefully minus the injuries. End up being like the ace of the team. So 0-1 pitch, big swing and a miss, low and away. No balls and 2 strikes to Freddie Freeman. I mean, we've had a few lefties over the years, but we haven't had a lefty starter that was like really good in a minute. So we had Jamie Moyer and Charlton and a few other guys that have been lefties in the pen and whatnot, but to have like a lefty starter, obviously Robbie Ray, and then as soon as he gives up the big home run, right, to Yordan Alvarez, and then he actually played pretty good for the Giants this year. Good for him. And big swing and a miss by Freddie, a rare strikeout for him, and that is 1 away. Next up for Chris Bassett is Will Smith. First pitch from Bassett. Smith fouls it off, low and away, 0-1 count. Bottom of the 8th inning, 6-1 Blue Jay lead. And, as bad as that loss felt, I'm not even really sure. I mean, obviously the Dodgers were excited that they won the game, but when a game goes that long, it's like you almost don't even care who wins. You just want the game to be fucking over with, And obviously to lose a game like that hurt. But again, I think it was more everyone was just gassed and tired rather than feeling the pain of the loss. And with no George Springer in the lineup today, they were hoping for a meltdown with the Dodger pen, and they got it. And obviously now the series potentially, could be tied 2-2. Blue Jays legitimately have a chance to win it all. Good for them. And hopefully the Mariners will be in that same kind of boat against the Dodgers in the future, where they have a shaky pen and, we can take advantage of it as well. 1-2 pitch, takes strike looking right down the middle. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Will Smith. 1-2 pitch, high and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Bassett to Smith. Yeah, France has actually done okay in the couple opportunities that he's been able to get a chance to hit. Had a nice little sack fly. 2-2 pitch, and Smith grounds out into the double play. Throw to first, and got him. Go to the top of the 9th inning and see who's up next here for Toronto. And a quick recap for anyone that's just tuning in. So in the bottom of the 2nd inning, Kike Hernandez hit a sac fly to right. Muncy scored 1-0 Dodgers. Then Vladdy hit a home run to left center, 395 feet with Nathan Lucas on board, 2-1 Blue Jays. And then in the top of the 7th, after Shohei went out, then the meltdown with Banda and Trinan. Jimenez singled to left, Varsho scored 3-1, right? Then France grounded out to second, Clement scored 4-1. Bichette singled to left, Jimenez scored 5-1. Barger singled to left, Guerrero Jr. scored 6-1. And that was all in the 7th inning. So, it definitely helps when you have a meltdown of that extreme for the Los Angeles Dodgers. Next up, 1 for 3 with 2 runs, 2 RBIs, and a base on ball, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Batting second, 1 for 3 with an RBI and a base on ball, DHing Bo Bichette. And batting third, 2 for 4 with an RBI, Addison Barger. Impressive. And again, if the Dodgers do, lose the World Series, it will be only for one reason and one reason only, that bullpen. I mean, really the only other weakness they have is this right here, Pages in center field. Other than that, it's mostly the bullpen. So, and they had James Outman in the past, but and a few other individuals that they've tried over the years, but that's one position that they need to figure out, center field, and definitely the pen. Weird to have a bye week for my college team and my NFL team in the same week, but at least there'll be other games that'll be interesting enough to pique my interest. First pitch from Jack Dreyer to Vladdy, fouls it off low and at the knees, 0-1 count. Jack Dreyer on the mound, Vladdy in the box. Oh, 0-1 pitch in play. And Vladdy with a single to right. Nice job by Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Next up is Bo Bichette. Dodgers have to be really thankful that they won yesterday. Imagine if the Blue Jays went up 3-1, you would assume at that point that they would win, in 5, 6, or 7. But to be at 2-2, I think Blue Jays are, they're going to take that. And they're definitely a very resilient team. And they don't even have George Springer, on top of that. So, it hurts that we lost to them, but I am kind of proud of the way that they're going at the Dodgers. They're not afraid. They're not backing down. And they know the weakness the Dodgers have, that bullpen. So if you can exploit that starting pitcher a little and then really exploit the bullpen, then that's what you get here today. It's not like Ohtani played bad. You know, he had one bad pitch to Vladdy down the middle, boom, you know, and sometimes that's what happens. One bad pitch might, you know, end the game for you, even though you might be lights out. But that bullpen is stinky bad for the Dodgers. 1-1 pitch, high and inside, 2 balls and 1 strike to Bo Bichette. Yeah, then Yamamoto would have to pitch 2 games, you know. And obviously, he's not pitching tomorrow. So, you know, it feels like, you know, you would have to have like Yamamoto pitch game 6 and game 7. That's not going to be possible. No, he might be able to pitch, you know, game 6 and some of game 7 if it goes that, you know, distance and whatnot. But it almost feels like you need Yamamoto to pitch 3 times in a full game to win. And you're not going to get that, so. And they got Savage and Snell tomorrow, so. But it definitely feels like it's going 7. And Bichette grounds out to first, and that is 1 away. Top of the 9th inning, 6-1 Blue Jays. Dreyer on the mound, Barger in the box. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching JSN on Sunday Night Football against the Commanders. Definitely a trap game for Seattle. You know, even if Jaden Daniels plays or doesn't play, and it's Marcus Mariota, but I'm definitely excited to be able to see what they do on Sunday night. Oh, 1 pitch, big swing and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes to Addison Barger. 0-2 pitch, takes strike 3 looking low and away, and that is 2 away. Oh, I did not see that. Down goes Barger on strikes. Next up is Alejandro Kirk. Crazy, we only got potentially 3 more games as Alejandro Kirk is intentionally walked. And then we'll transition into the NFL, college football, NHL, NBA, NASCAR, WWE. And we'll be doing that until we get to March. And then we'll be right back in with spring training with the Mariners and baseball coverage from hopefully, you know, March to late October, November next year for the Mariners. Yeah, they got absolutely blasted by the Chiefs, though, yesterday, 28-7. So, I mean, if the Hawks can play, you know, the way that they know that they can play, I'm not sure if they're going to blow out Washington that much, but, you know, we'll see. 0-1 pitch, big swing and a miss to Dalton Varsho. No balls and 2 strikes with runners at first and second and 2 outs. Jack Dreyer on the mound, Dalton Varsho in the box. 0-2 pitch, fouled off high and away. No balls and 2 strikes to Dalton Varsho. But, you know, I'm going to definitely miss, you know, baseball more than ever, you know. And again, we had an amazing year, you know, going through all of those games from spring training until, you know, obviously the end in the ALCS. But, you know, lots of excitement, you know, not only next year, but every year moving forward for like the next 10, 20 years. It's going to be something that we've never seen before, you know, as far as consistency and being like a good team. It definitely feels like we're getting into a realm, you know, that's going to even be better than the Griffey era, you know, where we had 95, 97, 2000, 2001. So we were good, you know, for, you know, 4 or 5 years in that span. And then we dropped off the face of the earth for 20. And then now we're back again. And, you know, we made the playoffs 2 times out of the last 3 years. But again, we need to shoot for winning the AL West again next year, you know, and then continuing to get better and better and better. Let's go to the bottom of the 9th inning and let's see who's up next here for the Dodgers. They're down 5 and potentially they're going to end up losing this game, probably 6-1. And the better that the Mariners do, obviously overall, the better numbers we'll do on the channel, and we'll continue to get bigger and bigger and bigger. Next up, 1 for 3, right fielder Teoscar Hernandez. Batting second, 0 for 2 with a run, base on ball and a K, third baseman Max Muncy. And batting third, 1 for 2 with a base on ball and a K, second baseman Tommy Edman. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. And we hit 23,200 subs. Now we only need 100 to get 23.3. Let's go. Yeah, but even if the offense is a little shaky against the Commanders, you would still assume that you would be able to win that game. It's a trap game for Seattle, but feels like the Rams and the Seahawks are going on a good path. The Niners have been able to hang around with all those injuries because of great coaching by Saleh as well as Kyle Shanahan. But when you don't have Bosa, you don't have Fred Warner, again, Kittle on and off, Purdy on and off, all your other receivers on and off, you would assume at some point the injuries are going to be too much and they'll start scaling back at some point, like when they lost to the Texans this past weekend. But, for the time being, they're still hanging around, with the Rams and the Hawks. So, and then obviously we got the Packers and the Lions in the north, and then the Eagles in the east and the Buccaneers in the south. Louis Varland enters the matchup. First pitch to Teoscar Hernandez, high and inside, 1-0 count. Louis Varland on the mound, Teoscar Hernandez in the box. Thank you. Appreciate it. 1-0 pitch, low and away. 2 balls and no strikes to Teoscar Hernandez. Bottom of the 9th inning, 6-1 Blue Jay lead. 2-0 pitch, low and away. 3 balls, no strikes to Teoscar Hernandez. Yeah, thankfully. I mean, even if this one would have went 10, 11, 12, I mean, I obviously prepared, my voice the best way I could with the cough drops and the lemon or the honey and then the tea and everything. So, and hopefully we don't have any more games like that this year. Hopefully that one game was it. 3-2 pitch and 4-seam fastball high and away, and that turns into a 6-pitch walk for Louis Varland. Teoscar Hernandez to first. Next up is Max Muncy. Ohtani went 6 innings, pitched the top of the 7th, gave up 2 hits, and then they pulled him. And then Banda, terrible. Trinan, terrible. And then the game opened up. And those 2 guys gave up the 4 runs. And then the game essentially was over. So, and Muncy with a big hit down into right field. And now you got runners at second and third with no outs. Dodgers making this a little bit interesting. Next up is Tommy Edman. I mean, if they can hit a 3-run jack or a grand salami, they could have something brewing here. Yeah, Naylor's coming back. 100%. There's no doubt about it. Bottom of the ninth, 6-1 Blue Jays. As the Dodgers hit you with the Sheck West Mo Bamba, which is normally a college football anthem to get everyone hyped up in the crowd. Nice rally here by the Dodgers, having a little bit of a mini meltdown for the Blue Jays, and you assume that you would have a few of them. And you definitely don't want the guy at the very end to be the reason why you lose the game. But again, if the Dodgers would have went with Ohtani a little bit longer and the game was only 4-1 right now, there would be a legitimate threat the Dodgers could win this game in the bottom of the ninth. But those extra 2 runs, might be the saving grace for Toronto here, even if they have a mini meltdown and give up a couple runs and end up losing this game 6-3 or 6-4. First pitch takes a strike looking outside. Should have been a ball, but of course it's called strike. This ump is terrible. 0-1 pitch, low and at the knees with the knuckle curve. 1 ball and 1 strike to Tommy Edman. Louis Varland on the mound. Tommy Edman in the box. Well, Naylor isn't really the type of player that we're used to. I mean, it's the first time that we actually got a player that can hit in Seattle ever, and play defense and steal bags and have a good head on his shoulders and have a good personality and seems like a good human being that loves, baseball. Like, we got to do whatever it takes to make sure he comes back, because if Naylor leaves, we're not going to be as good, period. Again, we could still end up making the playoffs, but we're not going on a deep of a run as we did this year if Naylor's not on the team next year. Little slow dribbler there, throw to first. Like, you could still compete for the AL West, but if you don't have a guy like Naylor, you're only going to be able to go so far. So, especially if we're not going to have Gino there, as well. And, you got to make sure you have good players at first and third. And, if Gino's gone, Naylor leaves, and we are stuck with whoever we need to fill those gaps, we're in big fucking trouble. So we have to make sure that we get Naylor locked up, and, you can put Ben at third temporarily until we get somebody better. Offensively, we know his defense is awesome. Bring up Colt Emerson, let Harry Ford play, and see where it goes. 6-2 Blue Jays. Next up is Kike Hernandez. 1-0 pitch, big swing and a miss. 1 ball and 1 strike to Kike Hernandez. Yeah, but again, Mariners normally don't really spend money or go after players, but we have the last 2 years. For the longest time, it was always talk by Dipoto and the ownership, and they never would do anything. But they got Randy 2 years ago at the deadline, Gino and Naylor this year, and again, look where we got. So again, now they realize, if we actually spend some money, and make some moves, we can actually maybe go to a World Series. And we almost got there this year. So again, we got to spend the money, and again, no one's going to complain about the dollar amount to Naylor if we get him. But also we want to make sure there's some money left over so we could potentially sign Polo, and let guys like Caleb Ferguson, Gino, guys walk, and then, fill in the gaps with some of the guys that are in the farm or that are on the roster that, are more backups. 2-2 pitch, big swing and a miss by Kike, and that is 2 away. Judah in the building, what's good? I took proper precautions. Tea, honey, cough drops, probably had fucking 15 of them. So I had to make sure that I was good to go today. Next up is Alex Call. But I will say that I was not feeling very good for about 12 hours. The meal was good with the soup and the noodles and the steamed vegetables, and then that long walk at like midnight with the pup was nice. Slept pretty good, but then woke up early, went for another walk, and I don't know, just didn't really feel, not just, the voice part, but, kind of felt like I had a hangover, but I didn't have any alcohol, and eventually about 2 hours before first pitch, I started feeling a little bit better. First pitch from Varland to Alex Call takes strike looking low and at the knees, 0-1 count. I mean, especially if I stream pretty much every day, I can't afford to not be able to work. So. Bottom of the ninth, runner at second with 2 outs, 6-2 Blue Jay lead. And a nice job by Edman grounding out to third to get Teoscar to come in, but they're still down 4. Yeah, it was the extra 2 hours in the chair making thumbnails before first pitch is what got me. If I didn't do that, I would have been able to go for fucking 20 innings yesterday, and I would have been tired, but okay. But, 2 extra hours making it 8 in the chair is just too much. And Muncy to third on a disengagement violation there by Louis Varland. And now we got a runner at third with 2 outs with Alex Call in the box. One pitch, low and away. Four-seam fastball, 97 miles an hour there by Louis Varland. 2 balls and 1 strike with a runner at third. Muncy with 2 outs. And a line drive, and that is out number 3. No, it's like this. So he's not really necessarily on YouTube. For him, he started like a TikTok account just to be able to try to get some people on that platform. Does stuff on SoundCloud, usually is for people that make beats or like rappers and whatnot. But a majority of his stuff is on this app called Untitled. So you download the Untitled app, and then, I can send a link, and then that'll give you access to the last 50 plus beats that he's made in the last couple months. And that will give you all the music that you hear on the channel, as well as stuff that you haven't heard on the channel as well. So. But if you are interested, like TJ was, you download that Untitled app, you send me a message on Instagram or X, and then I can send the link. And then once you click on the link after you've downloaded the app, it automatically pops up into the app. And then you just click on it, and then it opens up his library of music that he's been making. Final score, Toronto Blue Jays 6, Dodgers 2. The series now is tied 2 games apiece, and we will be live tomorrow for a crucial Game 5 here in LA, same time, same place at 5 o'clock Pacific. Did you get a chance to listen to some of the tracks? And again, with a lot of his tracks, there's a lot of buildup. So just because you hear certain sounds that you may or may not, like in the first 10 seconds, you gotta wait, because there's usually like an intro where it's like baking a cake. You'll start to hear the beat within the first 10, 15, 20 seconds, and then there's another layer, and then another layer, and then eventually you'll hear like kind of the hook, and then it'll kind of progress. And so some are going to be heaters, as soon as the beat hits within the first, 5 seconds. But there's also others that you may think, oh, this doesn't really sound like my type of thing. But then you go 30 seconds in, and then it turns into a slapper. So again, a very talented guy. And again, I imagine that you'll get a chance to go through those like I do every day. So love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very, very much. Hope you guys enjoyed the stream. TJ, thank you for all your help. Shout out to not only Patrick, but also Marcus as well with the donos on the dono train, as well as the new subs that we've acquired on the channel. We finally hit 23,200 here today, and we got 100 to go to get to 23,300. So love you guys, and I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. And final score, Blue Jays 6, Dodgers 2. Series is even now, 2 games apiece. And I got one question for you. Who talks sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics, and I'm out. Gang.